better not have no plans tonight.
Movie time and it's feeling right.
You're looking for a love that lasts. You'll find it at Romancing the Podcast. Ooh, ooh, baby, you had me at hello. Ooh, I love you.
I know.
Ooh, ooh, baby, you're the wind beneath my wings. Ooh, ah, I'll have what she's having.
Thank you for tuning into Romancing the Pod. You had us at hello. I'm Paige Wesley.
I'm Mikey Randolph.
And I'm Todd Schlosser, and this week, Mikey made us watch
Love
Simon. So was this the first time either of you guys had seen this movie?
Yes.
This was my first time, yes.
It was mine as well. What'd you guys think?
As per our rule last week.
Right, the edict that you issued from your guest bedroom.
The person who picked it goes first.
I picked it because it was huge when it came out. I never saw it. People said it was really good.
Yeah.
Overall, I think I really enjoyed it. It made me tear up a few times.
Yeah.
But the part that takes it out for me is that, one, that theater kid is a huge villain, like the biggest villain.
Yeah,
like one of my
huge villain.
all-time hated screen villains. His redemption is shitty, and he's not redeemed, and he's still a huge villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a terrible dude.
But also, his friends had like no empathy about that. They're like,
Yeah.
like that's huge blackmail.
I had a problem with that scene too.
Yeah.
Because I thought he was going to do the whole thing where like they don't communicate and he doesn't tell them why he did what he did till the very end.
Right.
And then they're like, oh my God, why don't you tell us? We fully understand. I'm so sorry that you went through that. But no, he tells them immediately after like the game is up, right? And they're like,
Right.
Still, fuck you though. You're like, he was being blackmailed, motherfucker. Like, what do you want him to do?
Okay, I know you just got blackmailed and outed, which I'm like 100% sure is a felony.
Yes.
And then like,
Yeah.
they're like, but what about me?
I mean, they are high school kids, but I had a problem with that scene too.
My problem with this movie largely is that everyone's attitude is what about me to a problematic degree.
Except the mom?
No, the mom still is what about me. I'll talk about it.
The sister?
The
The sister, I'm
awesome.
down with the sister. The sister
Okay.
and
dad
the
definitely made it about him.
The sister and the theater teacher are my two besties
yes.
in this movie. They're
The
my
theater
favorite.
teacher's fucking amazing.
She's the best.
But I was like, damn, guys, that was really wrong what they did to Simon. And then like, you got, Simon, you made me love you for all the, I was like, girl, pump the brakes.
I mean, that's not what she says.
We'll have to get to that when we get to that, but like,
yeah.
But I enjoyed it. It made me think of my brother a lot, who I give shit all the time to. That one of like, I think it's that one scene is like, you're still who you are or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why I give him so much shit is because he's still my younger brother. And so like, you know, him being gay like really doesn't factor in the fact that I'm going to give him shit about everything.
All right.
But it made me like empathize because, you know, growing up in Mississippi in the closet is not an easy task.
Oh yeah, that can't be easy for sure.
Right.
So Paige, what did you think of it?
I'm torn. I did enjoy it. I did definitely cry at the end for sure.
Yeah.
I kept finding myself comparing it to the half of it because there's a lot of very similar story points. And and as I discussed on the episode, the half of it, I was a little frustrated with some of the treatment of some of the gay characters in that film, or gay character singular, I guess, in that film. And I felt like this movie almost went too far the opposite, where it's all about Simon. It's all from Simon's point of view, which I do prefer as a format for sure. But all of the characters in this movie operate from a position of what I would call extreme privilege for a lot of it. And there's a lot of, I'm doing what's best for me and not thinking of anyone else. And so the blackmailing, that character's a huge villain. And while I do think if I was in his friend's shoes and found out that that's why that happened, I'd be like, holy shit, dude, I'm so sorry I didn't know that was going on. We'll figure this out.
Yeah.
I also really hated the way that he was fully willing to just throw his female friends under the bus to save himself. As much as I think I understand that emotion and the blackmailing is terrible, the lack of respect that he treats his friends with really bothered me, even in such a tough position. Like, it's one of those things where I'm like, I know why he did this. I understand it. I still don't like it.
I mean, I don't think you're supposed to like it. I mean, I feel the same way.
I don't think he liked it.
Yeah, same.
Well, and then at the end, we spent this whole thing where it's like, it was terrible for Martin to push him out of the closet, but then he kind of pushes Bram out of the closet at the end. And I was like, did we not learn anything? Like,
He also doesn't push him out of the closet, though. Like, he just says, hey, I'll be here. If you want to join me, join me. So Bram makes that decision.
sure, Bram makes that decision, but he created a situation in which everyone's there. There's no quiet way to do it. Like, it's very meant to be kind of like a never been kissed scenario.
It is on a Ferris wheel. And I realize that's not where the kiss happens in Never Been Kissed, but they do have the Ferris wheel moment.
I think the better ending is if he didn't show up.
I was really rooting for that, to be honest with you. I was rooting for him not to show up and for it to just be Simon's journey of self-discovery, or for Simon to get off the Ferris wheel, get to a more private place, and then for him to say it. Because I felt like he kind of created this situation in which it's like, come or don't. And if you don't, then he's upset and sad. And if you actually care about this person, that's going to make you upset. But if you do, it's in front of everybody. And it's the most public. And there's no real way in between. I think the more that I watched this, the part that I felt like I wanted to pull from the half of it into this movie was the earnestness of the characters in the half of it. Part of the reason I wished more of the movie, the half of it, was about her is because her motives are caring and pure. And almost everyone in the movie is kind of like, I like this person. I want to show them how I feel. How could I kind of do this in a caring and earnest way? And in this movie, it felt like I have to lie and hide and treat people badly to get my way for a lot of the movie. It does resolve it at the end, but I think I wanted a little more care and earnestness for the people around them, if that makes sense.
I think that's hard for Simon. I think him being outed against his will is probably like worst case scenario.
That is worst case scenario, but I'm talking about before that. That doesn't happen until like the last 30 minutes of the movie.
But I mean, he's trying to prevent that from happening for the entire movie.
No, I'm saying he's being blackmailed
Yeah.
like the whole movie.
I understand, and I don't want him to be forced out. But that's the thing. That kid's a villain. We all agree.
Yeah, I mean, he should be in jail at the end of this. Yeah,
I just hated the way he treated his friends about it, and it's tricky.
I don't think he had a choice. I think I'm a little bit more empathetic for Simon on that one because I don't think he had a choice but try to set the villain up with that girl and sabotage that. And I felt for him because I feel like he did a good job playing like a simmering anger about the whole fucking thing. And like, but that kid.
See, I didn't get the simmering anger, I guess. Maybe that's what I missed. Is to me, it felt like he was like, well, of course, this is what I'm going to do. And I don't care how she feels. I'm just going to do it.
I mean, when he is dealing with the blackmailer, whose name I forget,
Martin,
he is mean to him when they're in private together because he's fucking pissed about what's happening.
Right.
He only pretends to be his friend when they're around other people because the
public,
blackmailing is going on. So, like, I got that he didn't want to be doing what he was doing, but I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, Paige. It is shitty what he's doing. I just feel like if you're a high schooler and you're being blackmailed into coming out, or, you know, someone, I guess, letting the cat out of the bag for that, like, I don't see a high schooler making a different choice.
I don't know if you could see an adult making. I mean, I think it's hard for an adult to make a different choice.
Blackmailing is a felony, or it's illegal because it works.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah.
I mean, I get it. But I mean, it is shitty what he does, Paige. I completely agree. It's not great. And he does sort of treat his female friends like chess pieces for him to move around. And that's kind of gross. So, I mean, you're not wrong.
And I called it from scene 1 of the movie when they were sitting in the car. I paused it and I turned to Jake and I was like, those two in the back are going to end up together and she's in love with him and it's going to be a problem because he's gay. And he was like, all right, let's see if you're right. And I was totally right.
Of course you were right.
I mean, that whole thing was pretty cliched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see the felony blackmail coming.
Me either.
I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
I was like, this asshole's got balls.
I thought he was going to be outed and then he would like the friend group would have a lot of like stuff with it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was expecting.
But the blackmail being the plot point was a lot darker. Like the way the movie's marketed is like I think he's just outed in high school and he has a hard time dealing with that and his friends do and his family does. That's how like, the trailer played.
I really do think the blackmail's the problem for me, I think, because the blackmail is consummately bad. Like it's
dark.
Bad, it's dark. That character is repugnant for the whole of the movie, including the end when they try to give him a redemption. And it creates a situation in which you kind of have to justify him being shitty to his friends because like he's being blackmailed. And so you're just like, I hate this.
Yeah. I mean, I justified it. I was like, this sucks for Simon. And then like, what made me angry the most is the two football players who like picked on the gay kids.
Yeah.
They like got their comeuppance. But in my mind, I was like, that other fucking kid, Martin, is the way bigger bully. Who's going to fucking tell him off? I mean, Simon does, but like adults should have straight up fucking got him. I also feel like a missing scene was like his friends like straight up beating the shit out of Martin and like a kind of like a beat down, like, you know, like a circular, like bats and stuff.
So the thing that I thought was missing and where I really felt like some of these characters were operating with a level of privilege that's not really addressed as much in the movie is there is another student who is gay and has been out for a while. And it seems like they're only punishing bullies once Simon is also out. And Simon's like, yeah, I guess this never happened before I was out. And I'm like, what?
And I was like, we watched 3 scenes of that.
Thank you. I was like, not only did it definitely happen, I think you, Simon, were blind to it. And this would probably be a moment for you to be like, wow, how have I treated people in the past as well, now that I am in this same position? And the movie doesn't do it. It just doesn't even, at no point are they like, yes, this student has probably been weathering the storm for a long time. Like, nobody cares. He gets the same half-assed apology. I mean, their principal doesn't understand, and so the apology is like weak at best. And so there's stuff like that where like he is in a family where both of his parents are accepting, the school is accepting. There's a whole lot of things in place where it's like this could have been way worse for other people, and I think we see other people in the movie that it probably was worse for, and the movie doesn't seem to care as much about them. And that bothered me a little bit.
I mean, it doesn't. The movie just doesn't care as much about them. But the movie isn't called Love That Guy. It's called Love Simon. So I sort of get that.
Know.
I also sort of understand that in high school, if you're trying not to out yourself, standing up for the one gay kid may throw unwanted light in your direction. And even though he should have, especially because he should empathize more than the regular, I think, high school student, I sort of understand why he didn't. But everyone should have been like, fuck, stop doing that.
I think one line in the principal's office of like,
yes,
this happens to me every day would have fixed all of that.
That's all I needed.
Because I liked that conversation they had. It was kind of sweet. And he just had to say that to Simon. Yeah.
Yeah, I needed one line of, I've been doing this every day for 3 years.
I also didn't need that from him because I know he's been putting up with it every day for 3 years because the way he handles it is masterclass level of just brushing off homophobia and shitty behavior because he's had to do it for 3 years. Like, I got that he is good at deflecting their shit.
Yeah.
Because they've been trying to make fun of him for 3 years.
Yeah, but I guess my frustration is like, he shouldn't have to be good at it. And we shouldn't upend the apple cart for the white kid who came out. Like, but not protect this other kid that's been out this whole time. Like, it felt like he'd been persecuted this whole time and no one gave a shit until Simon came out and nobody really addresses it.
Okay, I just don't know if any teachers saw them harassing that other student.
Yeah, it was all kind of by itself.
Again, I just needed, like what Mikey said, one sentence from the other student of like, I've been doing this the whole time. Like,
yeah,
I thought it was coming. I thought it was so clearly telegraphed, like the kids in the car, like they're getting together and she loves him.
Yes.
I thought it was so like he's going to turn in and be like, that's how I've been every day. It's really hard being out. Something along those lines.
Something. And all I wanted in returun from Simon was to say like,
oh, that's rough.
Yes, I'm so sorry. That's it. Yeah. That's all I needed.
I know we're being. I mean, I think it overall was a very positive message, and I think it could have been better. I don't know what year it came out. Was it like 2010?
2018.
I'm way off on my movie years right now.
Yeah, jeez.
Okay, so I mean, I thought it was pretty good.
I loved it. I thought it was the best movie we've done this month. Well, I don't know. I really have a soft spot for In-N-Out because Kevin Kline.
I liked In-N-Out more than I thought I was gonna be.
I kind of liked Fire Island better than this too, honestly.
I loved Weekend at Bernie's.
I mean, I love Fire Island. I don't know why, but I really loved this story a lot.
This one touched me. This is the only one that made me cry twice.
See, I cried way more in Fire Island, but that was just me. Is it because it's a high school doing cabaret? What the fuck?
Oh my God. A high school and badly, Paige.
So
like
bad.
Nobody can do anything they're being asked to do.
So
and
bad.
they shouldn't be being asked to do Cabaret.
No.
It's wild.
I mean, any movie that makes theater kids the villain is automatically my favorite movie that month.
Yeah.
I mean, in truth, the theater kid blackmailing somebody, I was like, I sort of get that. Because the theater kid is not going to be the kind of kid that beats another kid up,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
They're going
yeah.
to do it a different way.
I thought Paige would kind of have a little bit of a crush on Martin, you know, because of the magic.
No, Martin is going to grow up to be a male comedian. I'm just telling you right now. And he starts his journey as a horrible person in this movie.
That's a real, I mean, like, he had some strong incel energy there.
Guys, he's a podcaster, 100%.
100%.
Oh, I was not like that in high school.
Todd was, by the way. Aside from outing people, like Todd would never out somebody, but the rest of this energy, pure Todd.
I swear to God this happened and I was not going to share it because he turns out to be this horrible villain. But for the first 20 minutes of this movie, Natalie was like, man, this kid's really funny. I like this kid. And I was like, that's because you're dating this kid. And then he starts to blackmail people and be an asshole. Really, at the Waffle House scene, I was like, I would never embarrass someone like this.
I feel like
And that was where we
Hands
deviated.
down, you would embarrass someone like that. You've done it to me.
I've never done that to you.
You've never tried to kiss me in public at a party?
That's fair.
Yeah, that's
okay.
true. The whole time I was like, this kid's annoying as shit, but I feel like I know adults who have grown up to be tolerable that started as that kid. And then he blackmailed people, and I was like, fuck this asshole.
And then the blackmail was bad enough. But then following through with it afterwards, fuck you. I mean, this guy is kind of top 10 movie villain for me. I think maybe.
He is up there with Reese Witherspoon in Sweet Home Alabama for me. Absolutely.
He is up there with Jenny from Forrest Gump.
He is as bad as Jenny, though. But
Martin doesn't sleep with anybody until after college, but then he's really insecure about it.
yeah, that's fair.
I miss sex.
It is pretty great, Mikey. I'm so sorry you're
I'm aware.
having to do without.
I've done it a few times. I know what I'm missing. But I've also had bad sex. So, like, I'd rather have no sex than bad sex.
I would agree with you, honestly. I'm
Yeah.
in that boat.
So, do you guys want to talk about the movie scene by scene, or should we talk about and break down Mikey's sex life encounter by encounter?
No, let's definitely talk about the movie.
Let's talk about young Todd in this movie. Martin. Let's fade up.
I watched this on Amazon because it was free with ads.
That's where I watched it, yeah.
And this movie opens with him getting a Subaru, but it looked like a car commercial, so I wasn't sure that the movie had started yet.
Okay, so I had the same thought, and then when I saw the Subaru, I was like, oh, it's an old Subaru, so this is the movie.
Yeah, and then I was like, is Josh Duhamel in a Subaru commercial?
I kind of like Josh Duhamel in this movie because I think I would be that dad who cries all the time.
Mikey, that 100% is
cry
going to
all
be
the
me
time.
too. Like, I cry for nothing. So, like, anything emotional happening, I'm going to cry. That's just the way it is.
And we do open with voiceover, which have we done? I guess In and Out doesn't have a voiceover. I was going to say, I was like, have we done a movie this month that doesn't have a voiceover?
It's him writing the first letter to Blue.
Well, it's the same exact text, but it doesn't give us that context yet.
Oh, yeah, we don't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know that, but we cut to he's in his bedroom watching the landscapers across the street and jerking off to them, basically.
Oh, my God.
Which, hard agree. I was like, yeah.
When he goes outside and he goes, and the guy's like got a leaf blower, so there's no way he can hear what Simon is saying, but he's like, hey, I'm Simon. I like your boots.
I live right here.
Yeah,
is
no
what he
shit.
says.
But the guy's not even like being rude or anything. He just can't,
He just can't hear him.
It's like, okay.
We also see him kind of try out his sister's. She's making like blue corn cakes or corn cakes with blueberry compote, which that sounds amazing. I was just like, yes, give me her cookbook.
I knew you would love the sister character when I realized that she was obsessed with cooking and stuff. I'm like, this is Lil Paige.
Honestly, also though, no notes.
she's
This is
great.
one of the few movies that like every time they show her cooking, she's using the right stuff for the right job and is making like legit things. I was like, good job. So he picks up his friends on their way to school, starting with Nick, who's like, I had the craziest dream last night. I was in this cave with David Beckham and he had a blue pill and a red pill. And I was like, what is this dream?
At the beginning of that dream, though, I thought that he might be the one that was gay.
I thought so too. I was like, because he says hot David Beckham. And I was like, okay, David Beckham does have universal appeal,
He
but
does.
like this
Yeah.
could go either way.
I mean, I am very straight, but I can admit David Beckham is a hot gentleman.
Yeah.
It's all that fucking cardio.
Yeah. Leah gets in the car and she's like, have you seen Creek Secrets today? Which we will find out is their like school secret post board blog thing.
Are those like big now?
I didn't have one in high school. I had one in college. We had a college one. That seems like a minefield of badness for high school,
Yeah.
especially because everybody's underage. It's like a burn book, but online.
Yeah, I'd imagine if it's like not affiliated with the school, though, you could get away with having that website.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Like it's called Creek Secrets, which is not necessarily the name of their high school.
Yeah.
And so like I thought that some student had made the site and then
Or something.
You know, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't get any backstory on it, but I didn't need it. I was fine with it.
Yeah. What I do like is the story that she has is that Becca gave Ryan a hand job in the pool, and that's why they had to drain the pool. And I'm
Yeah.
like, no one would ever drain a pool for that. Like, if we drained pools every time somebody got a hand job in a pool, there'd be no pools. Like, come on.
I swear to God, though, if he got a hand job to completion and they don't clean out that pool, I'm never getting in a pool again.
Bruh, I'm here to tell you that every pool you've ever been in or near has probably had somebody hand jobbed in it.
Being hand jobbed is different than being hand jobs to completion, though.
You wouldn't even fucking know.
Todd, you might not want to come over to my pool.
The chlorine's
All
gonna
right, I'm
kill
out.
all of it, man. Like, it doesn't matter.
But you're still going to see, like, what looks like conditioner floating around in
No.
there.
Well, I guess it depends on how thick the aftermath is, but
How thick the aftermath is the grossest thing I've ever heard for someone shooting a load. That is disgusting. I'm about to drop my aftermath.
I'm going to be like, hey, how thick was that aftermath?
on a viscosity scale,
Yeah.
I would imagine that it probably just kind of disappears in the water.
Okay, so for reasons, I can tell you it doesn't, Paige.
Paige, it's going to take a little time to like dissolve in the chlorine.
I mean, yeah, but not like a million years. Like,
No.
No, it's not radioactive waste. It's just,
no. Okay, if you're hand jobbing somebody in a pool, there's probably not people close to you. You've probably got enough time to, disperse the aftermath for the chlorine to kind of take care of it. Just saying. But also, I stand by my statement that if you have to drain a pool every time somebody had a hand job in it, we would have no pools.
So I just Googled this exact phrase. How long does it take for pool water to dissolve cum? Oof, this is not good for what you were saying, Paige.
Oh, no. What does it say?
Semen is not typically impacted by water in the short term, which is to say that sperm will generally survive, at least at first. And it depends
At least at first, but it's chlorinated water.
I don't need the survival. I need the dissipation rate.
Well, okay.
Because I'm pretty sure the chlorine is going to kill those sperm almost instantly.
Oh, I can tell we're going to stay on track this episode.
Absolutely not. This is science, Mikey.
We've been in 1408 the whole time.
I thought I was out.
In nearly all cases, water will slowly mix and combine with any fluids added to it, and semen is not usually any sort of exception, although semen tends to be thicker than water, so this may take several minutes or even longer to occur. So it will take several minutes or longer for the water to, kill all of the semen.
Chlorine water says it's impossible for someone to get pregnant in it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think you can get pregnant if it's chlorinated, for sure.
Yeah, okay. Sperm ejaculated outside the human body will survive less than a few minutes.
Yeah.
So literally, it kills all the sperm instantly. So it may be a little gooey for a couple minutes, but then it's gone.
Yeah, but okay. So, and maybe this is just my male privilege thinking here, but I'm not worried about getting pregnant from hand gibbered sperm in a pool. I'm worried about getting that on me if I jump in the pool.
I feel like you wouldn't be able to notice or feel it. I feel like by the time you're in the area where someone was hand jobbed to completion, that sperm is gone.
God, I hope you're right, Paige, but you never know. And that's the problem.
I feel like there is almost no way that you could, unless it's a floating condom, I think there's no way you could tell if someone came in the water near you moments before.
Moments before? No, if it was moments before, there would be thick, viscousy white liquid like in the water floating.
But if they have trunks, it's gonna get stuck to the trunks.
Oh,
Yeah.
I assumed that their dick was outside of their trunks.
How are you gonna do that in a public pool with your dick out?
I don't know. I don't do this.
This is a public high school pool we're talking about.
See, this is what I'm saying, though. More than likely, this is happening in an empty pool with no one else there. And so by the time anyone else is there, it's gone. Because there's no way two high school students in the middle of I guess they probably, I wouldn't put it past people. But even in PE, they're clearly going to have to do it far away from other people. Like, at no point would you be able to really easily pull this off right next to other people where other people could come in contact with it.
Also, fresh news, it will sink to the bottom.
That tracks for showers and bathtubs.
That's so much worse because then you're definitely stepping in cum when you're in a public pool.
Only if you step directly
Ghost.
on it, Todd.
Always swim in the deep end.
Oh, I'm never touching my feet on the bottom of a pool again.
I can say from experience, I didn't notice it sticking around for a while. You're welcome.
Wow.
Just saying. Also, I think people come in pools a lot. Almost as often as they pee in them, I think.
There's
That's
no
definitely
way
not
there
true.
is as
That's
much semen
definitely
in
not
pools
true.
as urine. That is a bonkers statement.
It's at least a 6-to-1 ratio.
So you're telling me that it does not bother you to swim in other people's piss, but just a little bit of potential cum is gonna bug you?
Oh, yeah, Todd, you're so homophobic.
What does cum have to do with homophobia, Mikey?
You're the one who's afraid to swim with it.
Yeah.
I just don't want it on me. Like if I'm in a pool, I don't want to get cum on me. I feel like that is an okay thing.
Wow, I thought you were progressive.
I strongly think that you have. Controversial statement. I think it may have happened to you and you may not have known. I feel like it's nearly impossible to know if that is currently happening to you.
I think I would know right now if someone was in the studio with me coming on my body.
I mean, yeah, outside of the water, sure. And if you were close enough to see somebody complete it, which is how it would touch you, I'm sure you'd know. But if you didn't know and you just swam through the water, I don't think you would just be like, I think it would just feel like water. Pool water feels weird enough as it is.
It would probably look like snot. Yeah. It would look like, it'd be like, oh, someone snot in this pool.
If it even stays white, because remember, it's killing all the sperm. So,
Chlorine's killing it, yeah.
Chlorine's killing it.
It does dissipate.
I'm never getting in a pool again.
I just don't think there's that many hand jobs in the pool. I mean,
Apparently, it's as much as people pee in pools, Mikey.
people pee way more. No. There's at least a 6-to-1 ratio.
Mikey, can I ask you 2 questions?
Yeah.
How many pools have you peed in?
All of them.
Every pool you've ever been in?
How many pools have you busted what did you refer to it as, Paige?
The aftermath.
Yeah. How many pools have you busted your aftermath into?
Five?
I want you all to know I cut out, you know what? I'm going to leave in the pause. I'm just going to add the Jeopardy music.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
I had a neighborhood pool in high school.
And you had a neighbor.
Yeah. I don't know. I never really kept track.
Okay.
More than one.
Let the studies show that it was way more pee than loads.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And you pee more
Sure.
than once.
Sure.
There's a way less of a refractory period.
Oh, yeah.
That's fine. I'll accept that. But I will stand by my statement that I think people, when they are ejaculating into pools, are likely doing it far away from others, and that you would probably not encounter it.
Oh, that's even a creepier. Like, I thought you meant like two people who are in love.
Me too. I didn't realize it was some rando freak just in the corded off in a section by themselves.
I see neither of you have ever been to spring break.
Where you just stare at Wendy Peppercorn and go at it.
What is your life like, Paige?
No, I have also never been to spring break. But you know those
I've
pools
been
are
to
like
spring
60%
break.
jizz.
Paige is just so hot. She's like, I know someone in this pool is jerking off, and I'm okay with
Do
it.
hot tubs count?
Yes, because that's my experience. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then yes, I stick with my answer.
Yeah. Okay.
I think hot tubs are a more intimate place, but I guess they're technically a pool.
Plus the heat plus the chlorine is killing anything in a hot tub.
Well, I bring the heat when in the hot tub. Let me tell you.
I'm the one heating that hot tub up.
Yeah. I make the bubbles and the heat.
Are you farting in the hot tub?
That's the joke, but I mean, like, I'm just ready for us to finish scene
Yeah,
one.
can we get to the aftermath of this next part of the movie?
Fine. Coward.
You know what? While I was watching the beginning of this movie, I was like, fuck, we're going to have to talk about how long semen stays in a pool for 30 minutes because of this damn movie. I just knew it.
Damn straight.
I just knew we'd get there.
You know us well. Okay. They drive through and get a bunch of iced coffee and roll up to school, where at first I was like, why are they all wearing green at this school? Because there was a lot of green, and then it turned out that was their school colors. And I was like, oh, I'm dumb. Like,
Well, there's no way you could have known that until you got there.
no. I do love the kind of conversations that we encounter on the lawn as people are kind of coming into school.
Yeah.
Where we have that one person being like, I'm going to be a hot Pokemon for Halloween. I'm going to be slutty Charmander. But this is Ethan, the other out gay student at school, and he is bullied. And again, there's a lot of people around, including the principal, who's only steps away.
I think he's the only out gay kid at school, right?
Yeah, as far as we know.
Well, you said the other out gay kid at school. That's the reason I wanted to clarify.
I mean, other besides Simon, but yeah.
But Simon's not out. That's the reason I wanted to clarify it.
No, I know. It's just like that's the person we've met so far.
Yeah.
So he gets bullied, and clearly it has happened enough that he has learned to kind of clap back with it. And honestly, Ethan's roast, fire. Like, he gets them
does have
every
good
time.
roasts.
Every time. I was rooting for him. But he does say that one of them looks like he got gangbanged by a TJ Maxx. And I was like, yes, he does. Those are pleated khakis in a high school. Fucking polar fleece ass motherfucker.
I do love that every time they pick on him, he destroys them. Like the 3 times we see it, he just destroys them, and it's great.
Right. And these 2 guys bullying him straight up call him the F word. Nobody does anything about it. Just like, lets it go.
It does sort of bother me that none of the students stand up for him. I don't know if any teachers see any of this until it actually gets addressed by the drama teacher, who is everything in this movie. She's amazing.
Well, and it's implied that she's new, which means that like maybe that is the first time she's seeing it.
Yeah.
But I think other teachers have probably seen it plenty and done nothing.
With how brazen they are, you're probably right. We just don't see that
Yeah.
in the movie.
They enter the school revealing that the principal is none other than Tony Hale, Buster Bluth himself.
Love Tony Hale.
He got the job as principal at Army.
He's actually their vice principal, which I was like, why
Wait,
did they...
he's the vice principal? Who's the actual principal?
No, he refers to himself as the vice principal, which to me felt weird because we never meet the principal. Why not just make him the principal?
I just thought he was the principal. Whatever.
I mean, for all intents and purposes, he was. It didn't matter. That's the reason I was like, that's such a weird note that he's the vice principal, not the actual principal. Although my high school, because we were so big, there were 3 vice principals, and I had 1 vice principal, and then of course we all sort of rolled up to the main principal. But we rarely ever saw him.
Yeah, I mean, even in my small school, there were multiple vice principals.
Okay.
Yeah. We cut to, they're at their lockers, and in his voiceover, we kind of got the breakdown of who's who, where Lee has been his friend since childhood. Nick has been his friend for a long time.
Yeah.
And Abby is new this year. So she's only been their friend for like a couple weeks at this point, because it is not the first day of school, but it's the beginning of the school year. It's like September. They probably started in late August.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the very beginning he's known it 3 months or something like that. Like it's a very new friendship.
Yes. So they get to their lockers, and he asks Abby if she's ready to be off book in about 2 weeks, and says that as company member number 8, I don't have as much stress around the show. I respect what you're doing, basically.
Yeah.
And at this point, Martin rolls up and he's like, fellow thespians, I'm excited to rehearse later, and then just starts spouting facts about the musical. And in my notes, I just have, Todd, why are you in this movie?
Rude.
At this point, he has not done anything but lecture people about musicals, so I'm going to call it accurate.
I love how Mikey's reacting like it's like a diss, but I said I was like this character until like the Waffle House scene, which is like 30 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, when I saw him, I was like,
Plus, he's petty.
yeah.
Super petty.
See, I'm more passively petty though. Like I would never do what he does.
Yeah, this is actively petty.
Todd is actively petty.
That's true. I can think of at least one instance that we probably can't talk about.
No, none of Todd Petty cannot be talked about on the podcast in public.
Okay, I'll cut it. But what are you referring to? Because I honestly don't know of it.
When you
Yeah, that's not being petty. That's looking out for my fellow man.
I rest my case, Your Honor. the prosecution rests. I'll let the defense dig its own grave.
I wish we could keep that.
I know.
You had better fashion sense than this guy, though, right?
God, no. We've seen photos.
I was going to say maybe now, but in high school, absolutely not.
So is the bottom layer like a pun shirt?
The thing you don't know about me is I shave funny slogans into my chest hair. So there's always a pun going on, whether I'm naked or not.
I hate it.
Just shaved like free chest stash rise.
I'm actually not that hairy. I'm not hairy enough where you could like shave a message into it. I mean, I could on my feet, but not on my chest.
You don't want to be because unless you then immediately after shaving it go and shave everything, you end up with a patch of hair that grows in different from the rest of your hair.
Yeah.
Anyway, we cut to Simon at home later that night and the family's all settling in to watch TV. And first of all, his mother, who is a therapist, suggests that they watch The Affair as a family. And her justification for it is that they're like a sex positive household. And I'm just like,
Too positive. We got to bring it down.
you could be too positive. Like, come on. And again, his younger sister is like, I don't know, 8 max.
Oh, I thought she was like 12. She's
She might be. She might be closer to 12.
I mean, not that matters whether she's 8 or 12. The Affair is probably not something she should be watching.
It's not. I got the impression that she was in upper elementary and wasn't in middle school yet, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows? She's still too young to watch The Affair.
Yeah, either way.
Kids her age should be watching Predator and Terminator and Total Recall.
I agree with that statement. Were you saying as a joke? Like over The Affair? Yes.
That's what I watched as a kid. Yeah.
Yeah. And Mikey, you're normal.
Anyway, they settle on watching The Bachelor, and his dad starts making comments like, I don't know why we're watching this. That guy is clearly gay. And he just kind of goes on like a run of making fun of him for it. And we watch Simon's reaction where you can tell he's kind of bothered by it, but doesn't say anything.
Yeah, I really liked how the dad sort of apologizes for this type of behavior at the very end, which is something I wasn't expecting, but I liked it.
Yeah, there are sections of the apologies at the end that I actually do really enjoy.
Yeah.
Where they do address some of the stuff that I'm like, fucking thank you. Like, because that was shitty, or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was one of them where he's like, Dad, it didn't bother me. It's okay. And he's like, it doesn't matter. I shouldn't have done it. Like, it's fine that you forgive me, but it's something that I shouldn't have been doing to begin with. And I was just like, yes.
I liked it.
Yeah. And I also like that he didn't know how to export the video file. I was like, this is the most accurate dad conversation that's ever happened.
When he shows him that 20-year anniversary video and he's like, this is like what a basic 4th grader does. Like
that's actually the very next scene. The very next scene.
It's so funny.
His dad's making a slideshow for their 25th anniversary, and it's their present to each other. And he's, first of all, it's set to Warrant's Heaven, which loved.
Listen, say what you will about Warrant, but that song is a banger.
Heaven isn't so far away.
Yeah. It's so good.
Oh.
But I do love that he's like, I'm going to be real with you. It looks like a 4th grader made it, and not a smart 4th grader, a deeply average 4th grader.
I did love that it was deeply average.
Deeply average. We cut to Simon kind of relaxing in his room playing the Kinks on vinyl, which is both unrealistic but also in my record collection, so I can't throw stones.
Please do not.
His Christmas list later, chef's choice. I was like, this is a fantastic Christmas list. Anyway, he answers a FaceTime from Leah, and she basically says, like, you have to go onto Creek Secrets, the blog thing, because somebody basically is outing themselves.
Welcome back to Creek Secrets.
Creek Secrets.
And someone's not outing themselves. They're just like, because it's like an anonymous post under the name Blue.
Right.
He is talking about, the poster is talking about how they are gay and they're like closeted and they do go to that school.
Right.
Yeah.
In other Creek Secrets, I found a salamander, but it turned out to just be a soft rock. Creek Secrets, it's beaver season again. Damn.
Let's get in those pools and get in the mood.
Anonymous post. I masturbated in the pool again.
I was surprised at how long the aftermath floated around me.
For science.
For science.
Try swimming in it now, a-holes. They're going to have to drain it again.
Did someone drop conditioner in the pool?
Why is there petroleum jelly all over the bottom of the pool?
The swimming instructor just gets out with like the thing stuck to his ear
Something about
from
Mary.
Something About Mary.
Like,
Yeah. Hey, are you wearing Apple AirPods? Oh, no, it's cum on my ear. My bad. Apple AirPods always remind me of that scene in Something About Mary, though.
I hate that this is a high school movie.
If there's anywhere in the world that more cum is being produced than anywhere else, it's high school. It's just a bunch of teenagers ruining socks.
Yeah. Man, my socks could have walked on their own in high school.
That's just because they were trying to get away from your feet.
My feet were not as hairy in high school. I'm going to level with you.
I don't believe this at all.
I mean, they still were hairy, though. I'll be honest with you. Yeah.
I feel like you were Teen Wolfing it.
My dad had to like knock on the bathroom door and be like, let me in. And then he showed me his feet. He's like, it happens to me too. Like that scene from Teen Wolf or whatever.
Yes.
I fucking love that scene. I cry.
You cry in Teen Wolf?
Teen Wolf is a very touching movie about a boy who discovers how to be himself. How dare you?
It's basically this film.
I don't know. I feel like it should be called Wolf Teen.
No, Teen Wolf absolutely is the way you should do it.
But is the wolf made of teen, or is the teen made of wolf?
They're one and the same. I really do feel like, and follow me on this one, Teen Wolf is this movie, but an 80s telling of this movie, because they couldn't really do this type of story in the 80s.
Teen Wolf is an allegory for coming out of the closet.
I think it is. Yeah.
I don't know about that because I don't think the dad would be like, it skips a generation.
My secret was I'm good at basketball. I mean, I'm here for reading Teen Wolf as a homosexual coming of age story. Like,
Yeah.
I am here for that all day long. Anyway, so he reads the email and there's actually an email attached to it. And so he sends an email back with a new address, basically a different address. They create a Gmail so it's not traceable back to their own thing. And he types out this whole, essentially a description of what we heard in the intro of the movie, almost word for word. And then is like, he doesn't type I'm gay. Instead, he just says, love Jacques. Basically, like, I have a secret as well, is as far as he gets with it. So we cut to the next day, and he's basically waiting all morning for an email back, doesn't get one. He's trying to check it in the hallway. The principal takes his phone, and so he's checking it all day. They go to lunch, and the soccer players are talking about shaving their legs to get better at soccer.
Well, they're trying to get one of the other soccer players to shave their legs, not actually saying you should shave your legs because it makes your kicks more aerodynamic. That would be ridiculous.
It'd be crazy.
I mean, there are sports where the men do that. I mean, like swimming is the only one that comes to mind right now. But that's because if you have hair on your body, when you're trying to like swim through all that semen people have aftermathed into that pool, it's much smoother if you don't have any hair for the semen to cling onto.
You got to glide through it. You got to rub that Astroglide on your entire body. So he tries to check his mail on his phone. There's no service. He walks through the hallway and his principal takes his phone, which we have seen happen earlier in the movie where there's no texting in the hallways, I guess is the rule at the school. And he has to wait till after play practice to get the phone. We cut to play practice where they're doing full-on cabaret at a high school, which I know high schools have done it.
Really?
Because I feel like I've talked to people who have done it in high school and they either just do like a compacted version or something or whatever. If you did cabaret at your high school, sound off in the Facebook group, because I know it happens. It's just so strange to me. That's such a crazy pick, I think.
There's some really adult shit that goes on in cabaret. Like,
yeah.
Oh, you mean like singing in baritone?
Singing in baritone?
Your risque musical. Can't believe it. Oh.
Oh, I'm surprised Mikey knew what baritone was. That was great.
I did just Google it. There was a high school production in Santa Barbara High School in 2013. So high schools have done it.
Yeah, I can't imagine doing cabaret with high school students. That's so bonkers to me.
It's also bonkers because it's like it takes place in like 1930s Germany. Nazis are characters in this play because it takes place in Nazi Germany. Like, and you even see one when they're in the production. She's wearing a Nazi armband.
Yes. Yeah, there's two Nazis sitting at a table making out.
In this movie. If I told you that in this movie there were two Nazis making out, you wouldn't believe me. But there are. And neither one of them is Jimmy Hitler. Little Jimmy Hitler. Oh, he was too busy wrestling on the wrestling team. He walks in with a Nazi singlet. Like,
good Lord. If you haven't listened to the Blood Diner episode of Horror Virgin, you want to know more about little Jimmy
it's the
Hitler.
horror movie version of Cabaret. Blood Diner. It's a movie that's bonkers. Blood Diner. I'm sorry.
They're just like welcoming women back to have hush puppy heads, just like welcome and fry your face. Yeah, just anyway. So they finish their rehearsal and the theater teacher just goes, that was help. And another student just goes, that was a start. And she just goes, that was a start.
Yep.
And you know what? When they told me when no student was to be left out, I had my doubts. That's the whole speech.
Yep.
That's so funny.
It was amazing.
So good.
She is probably my favorite adult character in a movie with Tony Hale, who's amazing. But I just think she's written better than Tony Hale. I love Tony Hale, and I think he's great in this movie, but I love their drama teacher.
Yes, she's amazing.
Yeah.
He goes and tries to get after rehearsal, he goes and tries to get his phone back, and Tony Hale's trying to be like, I see myself in you, open door, open ears, like, don't text and drive. He's trying to be one of those guys that's like, I'm reaching out to the kids, but is just painfully unaware.
It's like the character he plays in every movie that's not Arrested Development.
Yeah, that's true. In Arrested Development, he's, Buster, who like can't have juice and has a hook for a hand.
But I mean, like in any other movie, he's like this guy.
Yeah.
Except my favorite Tony Hale performance of all time, which is the one episode he did of Community as their pottery instructor. And he has that no ghosting rule where you cannot reenact the hilarious guy on guy. Anyway, he opens his phone, he gets a new email, and it's from the person that wrote the post. And basically it's like, have you told anyone? Like, do you know what you're going to do? And then we get his reply of like, I haven't told anybody, and I don't really know why, because I'm pretty sure it would be okay if I did. I think I'm just, scared of things changing. And I think I knew when I started having dreams about Daniel Radcliffe, which I thought was a very, because when you think about even just anybody, when you think back on like, when did I know I was the way I was? Whatever that is for you, there's almost always a thing where you're like, it's that.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah. I bet for a lot of kids that grew up around the same time that the main character of this did, they had a similar feeling about Hermione Granger.
Or Tom Felton, or early R-Pats.
Yeah.
What I did find funny and didn't think about, because I forgot how much older I am than the characters in this movie, is he's like, then it was Panic at the Disco. And I was like, hard saying, bro. Like, yes. But then later, the Panic at the Disco poster he has up is the Death of a Bachelor tour. And I was like, oh, we had very different eras of Panic at the Disco, you and I.
Although Death of a Bachelor, I do that at karaoke. And that song
great album
is a banger. I love that song.
Yeah, great album. But I was like, oh no. Like, I was in college during the Pretty Odd tour. Like, me old.
Yeah. You can't just say we old.
We old.
Because you're the youngest one on the podcast.
That's true. But what this clearly tells us, and I think the thing that we need to take away from this, is that Brendan Urie, universal appeal.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, I'm very straight. I do think Brendan Urie is a handsome gentleman.
Yeah. Brendan Urie also, historically, not completely straight.
Cool.
There you go. Well known. Anyway, so he also talks about dating his first girlfriend. She says, I love you. And he says, I'll be right back. And then goes to the bathroom and says, come pick me up. Kids are drinking alcohol, which I thought was so funny. It was clearly like the sophomore dance or whatever.
Yeah, it was so great. I honestly, I don't know. I sort of understood that. Like, it made him very uncomfortable. He just wanted to leave. And
100%.
He knew he could manipulate his mom into coming getting him immediately if he said that. So it worked. Yeah.
It's a very, very funny moment. And then he gets a response back that's like, well, when did you know? And Blue, as we know them right now, basically said it was Jon Snow of Game of Thrones. And I was like, I'll raise your Jon Snow and see you a Robb Stark. But sure, great. Yeah. Awesome. And they talk about like, oh, well, maybe we'll dress up for Halloween. Now, the one thing here that I think is interesting, because very much like the half of it, we have a whole section of this movie that's messaging back and forth. But conversely, I feel like this movie spreads it out a little bit better. So you're kind of seeing a little more action in between.
Yeah.
But I also think that in some ways, because it's not as layered in literary references, it comes off as more personal. Like you kind of feel like you are getting to know them a little bit better.
Yeah, because they're actually having real conversations. They're not just quoting like old books. Yeah.
Right. The one thing I will say, though, that I think the half of it does better, we get to meet and get to know the girl that they're writing to more than we get to meet Bram in this movie. Because Bram, at one point, you know, we'll get to where he kind of suspects that it's him and then moves on to other suspicions of other people. But after he stops suspecting Bram disappears from this movie for an hour.
We never see him again.
We
after the
never
bedroom
see him
scene?
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, we never see him again until the end, at which point you're like, I mean, I guess it's him? Like, it may as well be. I can't prove you wrong. I kind of wish, in some ways, I wish he was more integrated into their friend group so that you kind of saw him often. And I think the reason they avoid doing that is they think it would give it away.
Yeah.
I wish we would have gotten more time with him, I guess.
I still don't think that would have ruined the movie, even if you could
I don't think
telegraph
so.
it. Like, I think it's that guy. Like, he, it still keeps the tension and keeps the plot of the movie moving.
Controversial opinion. I wish they had telegraphed it so that we kind of have an inkling of who it might be, and Simon is unaware. And once Simon figures it out, for us, it's this like, we've known this whole time, and this is a person who cares about you as a friend, and I'm happy to see you together, instead of somebody who disappears for an hour in the movie and then just comes back at the end. So anyway, we cut to a scene of him answering one of the emails in the school library. The principal orbs up on him. He kind of immediately leaves and doesn't remember to close out of his window. And Martin, the annoying theater kid, goes to use the terminal after and opens it up and reads the emails.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so shitty.
It's really shitty.
I mean, reading the emails, I get, but screenshotting them and then going and then doing
And then
all the rest
blackmail.
Of the shit, yeah.
Yeah.
Is,
Honestly, like if that was me though, and I was like reading the email and I got to the point I would be like, oh shit, I don't want to know this information.
Oh yeah, I'd be like, oh, this is not great.
Yeah, I wanted something funny to tease him about. I didn't realize it was going to be like real, like deep information.
That's why I don't delete anything. I have 100,000 emails with spam, and that's why if someone logged my Gmail, they'll be like, this is madness, and I cannot find anything useful.
Wow, this guy orders a lot of Marco's pizza. That's what they would see if they broke into my email.
They're like, who gets emails from Lululemon, Papa John's, KFC?
why do you get emails from Lululemon?
Because I bought Lululemon.
Mikey, I have a follow-up question to ask.
Yeah.
Is it their work slacks?
No.
Oh, okay.
I like their workout shirts. They last a long time. They're expensive as fuck.
They are expensive as fuck. I actually do have some Lululemon slacks that I can wear with a suit, and they're super comfortable.
That stuff's real expensive.
It is. It's super expensive. I bought one, and I was like, well, I hope this lasts forever because I had to put it on my credit card.
They had a 40% healthcare discount during COVID.
Well, that makes sense. They publicly have said that their pants are not for people whose legs touch and that they don't want plus size people wearing their clothes. So they can get fucked. But also, if I'm going to give $100 to anybody, I'm going to give it to people who make fat people workout clothes and do it well. So Also, they used to use large-scale awareness training for their employee training, and it's kind of pretty cult-like to the point where one of their employees murdered another employee in the store, fought her to the death.
I mean, that's how I prefer my sports.
That's how you know it works.
Yeah. But also, it really makes me look good, like those shirts.
Yeah, I can't say the name because they tried to sue us one time. But at one point, they required their employees to sign up for very expensive training through them. So, yeah. Anyway, so we cut to them at lunch. And he's trying to kind of suss out if anyone he knows at lunch is the person that's been sending him the emails. And he opens a package of Oreos, and Bram walks by and is like, Oreos, I love those, which was mentioned in the emails. And so he's like, okay, maybe it's Bram.
Yeah. Well, and at this point, Bram doesn't know it's him either. Like,
Yeah,
he's referring to himself as Jacques.
right. Yeah, they don't know it's each other.
Yeah.
And he's trying to think of like, how do I broach the subject? And he has this like little flash of kind of, I do like that as he's kind of trying to figure it out and it's each different people, he kind of fantasizes what it would be like with each one of those different people.
And then we see those different people like writing the emails back. I honestly sort of dug that.
Yeah, I did kind of like that.
Yeah, it was cool.
We cut to they're prepping the set pieces for Cabaret, and they're like, when we're done, this is going to look like a real German sex club. Don't ask how I know. And don't get good at huffing spray paint.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. But this is where Martin's like, hey, can I talk to you in private?
Yeah.
I used the computer in the library after you. I screenshotted everything. I won't tell anyone, but you have to like help me get with Abby.
Man, at the beginning of the scene, when he like runs up to him in the hallway, I thought it was going to be like, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I didn't mean to, but I discovered your secret's safe with me. And it goes.
That's where I thought it was going to end. Yes.
Yeah. It goes like completely the other direction. I was like, oh, this guy should be in jail.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be your secret safe with me. And then he gets invested in trying to find out who Blue is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And trying to be a good friend, but maybe being a little too close to the situation.
Or him growing from the experience too. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then that could have been too much like the hat. No, he becomes Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Well, and I could have definitely seen a story where he's like, I'm not going to tell anybody, but I want to help you. And in doing so, accidentally outs him or something like that, where it's unintentional, like, but still has the same horrible effect. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, but like it very much is an accident.
yes,
Yeah.
and an accident, or he just took something too far because that's clearly who he is. You know, or whatever.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
I could have seen that. It was very strange that it was like, no, straight up villain.
Yeah.
Straight up villain who also thinks women are transactional. Like, it's extra bad. All of it's bad. And then there's one good thing he says a couple scenes from now that I was like, I want to like that, but I can't because you're so terrible. Like, it's so bad.
But I can't because I hate you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, we cut to he's at dinner with his family, eating his sister's food, and he's kind of emailing back and forth. And he says, he's like, he gets an email from Blue, and Blue's like, I didn't want you to know who I was yet because I'm not ready for my entire world to change. I hope you understand.
Yeah.
And he says, I understand. And so he cuts to the next day where he's basically going to agree to help Martin so that he doesn't get outed. And I think a part of that is him realizing that maybe his whole world would change if this were to come out. Because previously he was like, I'm not that worried. I don't know why I've kept this a secret for so long. I think people would be cool. But I think the more he thinks about it, the more he's like, a lot would change. And that kind of prompts him to like, all right, I'm taking your blackmailing seriously.
I mean, even early on, he talks about how he thinks his parents would be fine with it. It's not like he's worried about being kicked out of his house or anything like that, but he doesn't want his life to be any different than it is now.
Right.
So he doesn't want people to know.
Right.
And it's his decision when he comes out, and that's fine. And like, so I do think he understands that even if everyone in his life is cool, it is going to be
still change.
different. Yes. Yeah.
So this is where he goes to Martin's house to try and help him pick out new outfits. And first of all, Martin's room is just full of close-up magic. It's just close-up magic and graphic tees, the whole thing. And he starts kind of going through his t-shirts and is like, do you have anything that doesn't have like a funny saying on it or whatever? And this is the one thing that Martin said that I kind of agreed with that I wish teen movies like this would include. And he just says, I don't want to change. I want her to like me for me.
Yeah.
Which, again, horrible character is the villain. That is a very pure motivation and a grain of self-awareness that I wish we had in other movies. But at the same time, it literally is him being like, force her to like this. as if she has no choice or agency in it. And I was just like, she's a person.
Yeah.
To me, it's wild that he thinks it's a done deal just because he's blackmailing her friend. Like, I don't know, like if I don't know, I'll just use Mikey and I as an example. Like, let's just say Mikey had a crush on one of Natalie's friends and he was like, Todd, get her to like me. I could try. You know, I could like invite them to the same place, but it's not going to be a done deal. Mikey's going to have to be charming as fuck, which Mikey is super charming. So I have no doubts that he could line it up, but it's not just on, you know, Simon.
Right. And I feel like there's also a discussion to be had of like, if you want someone to like you for you, find someone who just likes you for you. Be the most you can be. And that will attract the people that are into it. Like, that's the best you can do, basically.
Well, and that's honestly what you want to do, because you don't want someone who likes the you you're pretending to be. You want someone who likes the authentic, real you, because that's who you are.
If you can't handle me when I'm putting mozzarella sticks in my mouth like a walrus, you don't deserve me at my...
Wondering with you aloud whether the semen in the pool will dissipate before anyone else comes to the pool.
Right. Although I did like that he said girls don't want to read your clothes. And I'm like, you know what? Most of the time, that's right. Not all the time. If you have an exceptionally funny shirt, I'm excited by it. But unless it's like really crazy funny.
Yeah, it's no t-shirt that I wear to get woman, which is, if you can't run with the big dog.
Oh, yeah.
Stay off the board. Now, here's what I am here for is a really cool graphic tee design. Like something that has a cool logo or something on it.
Not me, baby. It was American Eagle every day, all day.
Yeah, Mikey, we know. You, more than anyone else in this podcast, put off a lot of like American Eagle / Abercrombie and Fitch in high school energy.
I could not afford Abercrombie.
Occasionally you'd see someone with, they used to sell these at Christian bookstores where it was like a known logo, like the Reese's logo, but then it would be like Jesus peanut butter cups.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Yeah, so sometimes it was those.
Yeah. You ever gotten a cease and desist from God?
God's too busy for that shit. Anyway, so he tries to kind of organize Martin. Martin's not going to be organized. He doesn't want to change. So he just invites him to the party that they're going to at Bram's.
Yeah, it's like a Halloween party, right?
Yeah. We cut to, they're all kind of gathering, and I think it's Nick's house.
It's one of the type.
It's a high school
group.
kid's house. It's not important.
They all seem to live in this very cookie cutter neighborhood.
Yeah.
Called the suburbs.
I mean, these are some pretty big houses, though.
Like Paige's suburbs.
No. All these kids are rich.
No, all these kids live in Illinois, and it's cheap as shit to live in a house like that.
That could be. I wasn't sure where this was taking place.
I didn't know either. I mean, if this is in California, all those kids are rich. If this is in Kentucky, all those kids are on meth. Like, it depends on where you are in the country.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find out where this is supposed to take place.
Like where it's supposed to take place?
Yeah.
Love, Simon was shot in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
Oh, so it's the neighborhood I grew up in.
Yeah.
And you were throwing shade at me. What?
Back then, like my parents bought their house for like $110,000.
But in the 60s, Mikey, that was a lot of money.
How old do you think I am? I think we moved there in like 95.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they all show up to Nick's house, and Nick is dressed as Cristiano Ronaldo, which just means that he has taped the name Ronaldo onto his normal soccer clothes.
Yeah.
Leah and Simon have gone as John and Yoko in what I would say is a fairly accurate John and Yoko costume.
Yeah, I mean, it's like what you picture as John and Yoko, unless you're picturing the album where they're both naked.
With very disparate butt cracks.
I love that meme.
I do love that meme, even though it's definitely altered. Like, that's definitely
for
photoshopped,
sure, but it's still
I do love it.
hilarious.
So it does look like John and Yoko, but for a hot second, I was like, is he supposed to be Jared Leto? Like, is that who he's being? Like, and then I was like, no, 2018. Okay, maybe not. And then it was like John and Yoko. I was like, okay, that makes a lot more sense. But I did love when Nick was like, you look like the girl from The Ring and Jesus. And he's like, why would Jesus wear a white suit? And he's like, you tell me, you dressed as fancy Jesus, which I thought was amazing.
But also, have you not seen Evan Almighty? Like, Morgan Freeman's wearing a white suit in that.
That's true. Then Abby shows up as Wonder Woman. I love Abby's costume because I think it does the best out of these groups of A, looking like who she's supposed to look like, but B, looking like it was things she could have cobbled together at home. And I think that, to me, was the best. Anyway, it made me want to get American flag jeans, like jean shorts like that. I thought it looked really cool. I was like, can I pull that off? I don't know. I'll find out. Anyway, they're about ready to leave when Martin shows up dressed as a Freudian slip.
Yeah.
Which is a very funny idea, although the way he's done it, it looks like those like fridge magnets that you would organize into
like
sentences.
Like the white with black text, yeah.
Right, yeah.
But they're just like, I assume, like super glued or sewn to a slip.
Yes.
So it's like he's wearing a dress, sort of.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
I would say it's annoying. I don't care so much about him wearing a dress.
Oh, me either.
Clearly that has never bothered me in all of my seasons of Outlander.
No, not that part. It's just, he's the worst.
He is the worst.
I didn't do Freudian slip, but I've worn a dress to a costume party. Like,
Yeah, we know you are Martin. We get it.
Yeah, we get it. Here's the real rough part. So they get in the car, they're going to the party, and Nick and Abby have this kind of natural rapport as they're talking, and Martin just keeps trying to like interject into it.
it is so painful to watch.
And not with like things that are part of the conversation. He's like trying to like shout out talking points of like, what makes you nostalgic? For me, it's grape soda. And it's like, dude, just join the conversation. Like, what is happening?
Yeah. It's like he prepared a tight five for his conversation, but he has to make sure that it's like, he has to steer the conversation to his material, you know?
I'm telling you, he's going to grow up to be a male comedian. He'll be the guy up there like, these are supposed to be jokes, people. What do you want to talk about? Dating is hard in Los Angeles. And you're just like, I hate you.
I feel like he's going to be one of the quote unquote male comics who's like, you just can't joke about anything anymore. And you're like, well, no, you can. It's just, you're not funny.
He's not old enough to be that much of a douche, but like he'll get to the point, I think, where he'll say something offensive and just be like, it was a joke. You can't take a joke. He'd be that guy of like, I'm not going to apologize because it's a joke.
Yeah, to me, that is the same energy as people who are like, you just can't make jokes anymore.
It's different because the it's a joke guy knew he was saying something too mean and then is going to try and back out of it by saying it's a joke. The people who were like, you can't joke about anything anymore are old and racist and are just mad that they can't reuse jokes from 20 years ago.
Right.
Anyway, he pulls Simon aside at the party and is like, why is Nick flirting with Abby? And he's like, first of all, I never promised you there would be no competition. But secondly, like, I brought you here, man. Like, I'm not going to.
Yeah, I got you to the table. You've got to seal the deal. Like, all I can do is introduce you to. Like, I can't make her date you. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
All of this made me mad. If I was Simon, I would have been like, our deal was like, I would set this in play.
Yeah.
It's your job to get her to date you. Like, I can't make her date you.
Right. And so Bram kind of welcomes him to the party, and he's post-presidency Barack Obama, which is a great costume.
It is pretty great.
It's so funny. Because he's just wearing like a Hawaiian lei, and he's like, I'm just writing books and hanging out. But they end up doing karaoke and drinking, and he's talking to Nick, and Nick is like, I really like Abby. I kind of want to ask her out. And this is where, for me, it really bothered me what Simon does next, because he lies to Nick to try and get Martin in with Abby. And I know why he does it, obviously, because Martin has threatened him for sure.
Yeah.
And it's a bad situation. But it made me really, really sad for like, no one took Abby's feelings into account. Not Martin, not Nick, nobody. I was just like, this poor girl. She's going to be left alone with a person she doesn't like, who's just going to be terrible to her.
Yeah.
Like, oh, dating. Anyway, he tells Nick that there's an older guy who's more sexually experienced, and that is enough to kind of make Nick question his own experience level and kind of leave it alone for the time being.
It certainly scares him off of walking up to her that night, right? Because he was like, I think I'm going to go ask her out right now. And Simon sort of panicked and made up a story real quick.
Right.
And that, I guess, ultimately stopped him from asking her out then. It doesn't stop the relationship from happening, though.
Right. They end up playing Beirut, a.k.a. a version of beer pong. And Abby and Martin end up on a team together, and Bram and Simon end up together.
Yeah.
And play. They all seem to have fun. Bram and Simon end up doing karaoke together. And he, after doing karaoke, is like, I should ask him. I should tell him it's me. Why did I pick the name Jacques? Like, how am I going to figure this out?
I did love that he was in the bathroom, like practicing how he was going to like tell him. He was
Yes.
like, Bram, it's me, Jacques. And then he was like,
Right.
Barack, because he's dressed as like
Yeah,
Bram
yeah,
is Barack. He was like, Barack, it's me, Jacques. And I was like,
Yeah.
I like the way that rhymed. That was funny.
That's good. You should have gone with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should have. But he goes upstairs and he finds Bram with a girl.
Yeah, like I think they were kissing, right? Like,
They were very close. It looked like a kiss was about to happen. And we'll find out later that basically they kiss and then nothing else happens after that. And,
Yeah.
You know, but as he kind of turns to kind of figure out what he's going to do next, Martin comes up and barfs all over him.
oh, Martin is the worst.
Martin is the worst. Simon and Leah walk home and his parents are still up. And so they kind of sneak past his parents. They are like, hey, how was the party? It was really fun. They notice the barf on his shoes and everything. But they let them go upstairs. And they have a conversation between the two of them where they're like, so he was clearly drunk, but they didn't drive. We're just going to call it, like, we're going to call it a win. We're going to leave it where it is. And I mean, that's a tough one. I don't know.
I mean, he's underage.
He's underage, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be slightly worried about like where were they safe? I would have been glad that they did not drive home, obviously.
They did drive home. She drove them home, right?
No, they walk
Oh,
home.
they did. That's right. They did walk home. Okay.
Yeah, they walk home. So they didn't drive. And it implies that they didn't take the car at all, that they walked there and then walked back.
Yeah, that's right. Because when you see her throw the bag with his shirt in it, it actually sails over his parked car that they left there. You're right. Okay.
Yeah. So people do drink underage. Especially once you get to college, you can't prevent people from doing it. I don't love it when high schoolers do it. I do think there's some danger for binge drinking and a couple other things. But like, if I was the parents, I would probably be like, we'll talk about this tomorrow. But for right now, like, go to bed, please. And it better not be a school night or whatever.
Right.
Which I think is probably where they kind of land. But this is where Leah stays over. And it's because they've been friends since childhood. And as they kind of get ready for bed, I also probably would not let her stay over if I was his parents.
Yeah. So when I saw that she was staying over, assumed that when he told his parents, they were going to say, thank you for telling us. We've known for a little while now. Because
otherwise, why would you let her stay?
Right. And I realize that people have different rules with all that, but there's no way my parents would have let me have a girl spend the night at my place in my room with a closed door.
Yeah.
I had multiple friends spend the night over at my house.
In your room with a closed door?
Like basement room, like, you know, like
Just
it
the
was like
two of you?
I mean, it was like a bunch of us.
A group of people is different.
Yes, but do you think two of that group, maybe me and someone else, didn't sneak off to a different part of the house?
No, I'm sure that happened.
Oh, yeah, I did have a girl spend the night by herself. Sarah, coming at you.
How you doing, Sarah? Sarah, if you could reach out to me on social media, I'd love to interview you about Mikey and his days as a young lover.
Yeah, my parents would have never, ever let a boy stay over in my room at a closed door, ever. That would never happened.
Same.
Never once.
But for a girl, yeah.
Yeah, anyway. So she's on the trundle bed, and she, I think, is trying to tell him that she likes him. She's kind of talking about her feelings, and he's oblivious. Here's the one thing. When we did Can't Buy Me Love, and she was clearly trying to tell him she liked him, and he was like over the top, like, I can't wait to break up with you. And it was like extra hurtful and extra oblivious.
Yeah.
This, to me, felt a little bit better because he's oblivious, but he's still trying to hear her out and like, tell me about that. What do you mean? You know, or whatever.
Well, he thinks she's talking about their other mutual friend.
He thinks she's talking about Nick, which I don't know why he would think that.
Me
There seems
either.
to be no chemistry between them.
Yeah, it's crazy to me that he thinks that, but he does say that that's what he was thinking. So, okay.
Yeah, there's just no chemistry between them. But so we cut to the next day, and we have kind of his voiceover as he's writing an email where he's like, I wish that coming out was not solely a gay thing. I wish everyone had to do it. And I kind of love that idea.
I like the montages of his straight friends being
the
like, Mom, Dad,
montage we get of
I'm
it is
straight.
very funny.
Yeah.
And it's very funny. But he also says these like, I'd love to be gay and proud in college. And we get like a cutaway to him being gay and proud in the dorms, which is also very funny. But then they also exchange emails where Blue is like, I'm going away on for Christmas to a place that doesn't really have electricity or whatever, but I'm going to probably come out to my dad.
Yeah.
And we cut to rehearsal where he talks to the accompanist for a little bit about it. But this is where he and Martin go to get a Band-Aid, and Martin's like, why am I not balls deep in Abby yet? And he's just like, perhaps because you are repugnant. You're terrible. But he kind of organizes and orchestrates a way for them to run lines at Waffle House.
Yeah.
And we get the email that says that Blue's going to come out to his family. We still don't know officially who Blue is, but
Right.
We get to Waffle House. Lyle is their waiter, and we find out that he goes to their school and kind of knows them. And they start running lines, and Abby ends up talking about her dad. And Martin does this thing of like, you deserve a superhero, and does this whole like stands up and embarrasses her and makes her say it. It's very, for me, off-putting, extremely off-putting the way he acts in the Waffle House.
Yeah. When they play the music, when he's like standing on the table or standing on the bench chair or whatever, and like talking to the restaurant, and the music that's they're playing is like, oh, he's doing this sweet thing. I was like, I hate this person.
Yeah.
Why is he getting this moment?
Well, and it almost felt like they were trying to like, maybe him and Abby get along. You know, and like maybe this could be a thing. I felt like what they were trying to do.
The movie's just playing with us at this point because he's straight up awful.
I mean, but you're right. The movie is just playing with us because I think I agree with Paige. Like, I think the movie is trying to set him up like, oh, maybe he is a romantic option for her, and she is not into it.
No. And Simon takes a moment to step out and talk to Lyle because he kind of is starting to suspect that maybe Lyle is Blue. Lyle was my favorite Blue, by the way. I liked Lyle. I thought
is he
Lyle was very
the piano
cute.
accompanist?
No,
Okay.
Lyle's the waiter at Waffle House.
Oh, yeah. I liked Lyle.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, he gets another email that basically is Blue saying, like, I'm going to come out to my parents at Hanukkah. My parents are divorced, so I spend it with my dad. It's kind of awkward. I'm going to double down and make it extra awkward. We cut to him driving Abby home from Waffle House, and he comes out to Abby basically like, hey, I didn't know all that stuff about your dad. I just want to tell you I'm gay. You can't tell anybody, but like, this is what's up.
I thought it was super sweet. I actually really loved that.
I did. And it's basically just like, he's like, were you surprised? And she's like, no. And he's like, so you knew? And she's like, no. And he's like, but you're not surprised? And she's like, do you want me to be? And he's like, I don't know. And she just goes, well, I love you. Like, I don't know what else you want me to say, but I love you. And he's like, I love you too. And that's it. I do also like when Leah asks him later, like, why'd you come out to her first?
Yeah.
For him to be like, I've known her only a couple months.
Yeah.
It was easier. Our whole relationship didn't have to change. It was still new. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I also think it may be because he knew she loved him and it was going to change their relationship. But
I would argue that he knew and had been lying to himself about it.
Yeah.
That deep down he maybe knew.
yeah, at least that's what I was thinking in that moment.
The movie does not say that. That's
Right.
nowhere on the screen.
And he still could have been figuring things out. Like maybe this platonic love is, you know, you don't know his like internal emotional journey with that, you know.
I mean, we kind of do. The
With
movie
her.
kind of tells us that.
I don't think he's an asshole at 17 for not telling her.
Oh, me either.
No, that's not what I'm arguing at all.
Yeah.
I understand why he told her second. And I'm thinking that part of the reason he might have waited is because he thought that she felt that way and it might hurt her worse. So, like, I understand that.
Well, and he's her best friend and vice versa. So, like, if he comes out to her and she handles it poorly because she is in love with him, he's
Right.
lost a best friend, and that's sad.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, I definitely understand there's a lot more mental calculus involved with him telling Leah than with him telling Abby, and I completely get that.
I agree.
And Leah should have like spoken up about her feelings at some point.
She's a teenager, dude. I don't fault her for not speaking up about that.
If it was a male character and this was a female character, this conversation would not. I mean, like, you have a responsibility if you have feelings for someone to tell them and not be hurt that they didn't know.
Well, she's not hurt that he's gay and didn't know. That's not why she's hurt later. She's hurt that he kind of pushed her to go out with Nick.
Yeah, none of his close friends are upset at all that he's gay.
Oh, I know. They're upset for way pettier things.
This is going to sound terrible. I don't think it's petty to be upset that someone lied to you and set you up in a relationship that ultimately wasn't going to work and was going to hurt you when it ended. I mean, I think you can still be upset with that and also be like, I accept you for you. I'm happy you get to be who you are. Please don't lie to or about me again.
I think the blackmailing gives him
For sure.
a lot more of a pass.
It does, but I also understand being upset that someone messed with your life, you know? Like, I don't think those two things are separate. I think you can be like, it's terrible that you got blackmailed. That shouldn't have happened to you. I'm happy that you get to be who you are. That's great for you. Going forward, please don't lie to people about me to put me in situations like this. Like, I think that's a very fair conversation to have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, even when he does tell her, she's not mad like, I loved you and you lied to me. That's not what she's mad about. She's mad about the lie to Nick.
Yeah.
Which I think is fair. So anyway, he emails Blue and is like, I'm dying to know who you are. I hope it goes well to your dad. And he gets an email back that basically says, I told my dad and it was fine. And he reveals like, hey, I told one of my friends. And it kind of felt good to get it off my chest a little bit. We cut to, he's talking to Nick. And Nick reveals that he's going to try and ask Abby out again because he's like, well, I've been practicing with a pocket pussy, which is just like a real like, ugh, that's not practice. Don't do that. He's like, but I'm going to tell her that I like her. And he then lies to Nick and says she likes Martin. So you should go out with Leah. And so he does. He asks Leah out. We cut to literally end of the school day.
Yeah.
And Leah is like, Nick asked me out. And clearly, as she's telling him about it, she's waiting for him to object and be like, but I like you, because she doesn't know yet. Like, that's what she's kind of, I think, hinting at. And he's like, great, I know you're into him. And she's just like, okay, then I guess I'll go out with him. Like, sure.
Yeah. I mean, she does seem to acquiesce in some way.
Yeah.
But it's clear she's like struggling with it because she's in love with him. I mean, I think it's very clear the entire movie she's in love with him.
Right. We cut to the game where Abby, who knows, is talking with him about the QB from the other team. And he kind of reveals that he has maybe a maybe smidge of a crush on Lyle because he thinks that might be Blue. It's, you know, it's more just that he thinks he might be Blue. And if he is, he loves Blue. So like maybe he should approach Lyle. And so she gets out of the way so he can. And he ends up talking to Lyle. But then Lyle immediately is like, so what's Abby's deal? You hang out with her a lot. Like, can you help me get in there? I was hoping you could help me take out Beth. And he's like, oh, we're just friends, you know. And Lyle says, well, I couldn't be friends with somebody that hot. So now we know that Lyle's straight. It's probably not Lyle. And as he's walking back to the bleachers, the mascot runs up to him and it's Martin.
Yeah.
And Martin is like, hey, I've been practicing this big thing. I'm going to like try and, you know, like win Abby over or whatever. And Simon is still upset that it's not Lyle and is just like, yeah, do whatever you're going to do, man. Like, I don't care. And he's like, all right, thanks for the pep talk. Go big or go home. And the second Martin says go big or go home, I'd be like, wait a second, what's big? Like, what is...
Oh, yeah, that would terrify me. Like if someone who is capable of what Martin is capable of says, oh, okay, I'll definitely go big. Wait,
right.
Hang on. What are you planning?
Oh, I straight up thought he would murder her at this point.
I mean,
I didn't think he would do that until she rejected him officially.
Yeah. And she is very kind about it.
Super kind. I mean, when he does this big grand gesture, man, when that lady starts singing the national anthem and you see him like running up in the bear costume, because you see it's like a 5-second shot of him running towards her, about to Kanye West her. Like that shit was so funny to me. And then he does take the mic from her and like sort of do the whole, I'm gonna let you finish this national anthem, but
first, my favorite is when she goes to introduce the national anthem and she says, this goes out to the refugees and my vocal coach.
Yeah.
Amazing. But he steals the mic and he goes into a whole speech about how much he loves Abby. And she walks down and he's like, will you go out with me? And as she's walking, one of the asshole jocks that also made fun of Ethan in the stands earlier is like, she's too hot for you, ass face. And I'm like, these two bullies suck, just in general. They need to go away.
And they honestly never get their comeuppance. Like they never get any like negative repercussions for being literal terrible human beings.
Yeah. So she walks up to the railing and says, Martin, I'm so sorry. I don't feel that way about you, but I like hanging out with you, and I think we could still be friends. And as she's saying that, Martin's other friend accidentally releases doves.
Oh my God, the doves made me laugh.
I love how at the drop of a hat, Martin has access to like John Woo levels of doves.
Yes.
Why? How does he? Oh, he's a magician. Fuck. That's why.
Yeah, he's a magician. That's why he's got doves.
God, that makes perfect sense.
I was waiting for one of them to be a dead dove, but like no, regular doves.
I mean, if it was real life, half of them would be dead, and
right.
the person who's in charge of releasing them at your wedding would lie to you about that.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll just release the live ones.
That's what they do.
I'm kidding.
Oh, okay.
Mikey, I'm not putting you in charge of releasing the doves at my wedding because the live ones will fly out and then Mikey will just throw dead doves at people.
We're not going to waste doves. I'm putting it in a t-shirt cannon.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Dude, that would do damage.
Yes.
Dude, their hollow-boned body just crushing against someone's torso as you like shoot them at them. Oh, I take it back. Mikey, you're in charge of the doves at my wedding.
That's how you know who gets married next. Yeah.
That's how you know who gets married next. You got hit with a dead dove.
You're guaranteed to meet your future spouse in the hospital recovering from pigeon wounds that were shot out of a t-shirt cannon.
Oh,
that's
amazing.
how, Florence Nightingale syndrome.
Florence Nightingale. Paige, I don't know if I can handle this.
I can't handle it.
That's the best it's going to get.
No, I loved it.
Anyway, so he does say, he's like, either way, it's uplifting to free some birds, which was really funny to me as well.
It was. And then he like drops the mic and like runs out of there.
Well, everyone does clap for him and say, like, it was a nice try. You gave it a shot.
Tone, their vice principal sort of like speaks up and like sort of does sort of be like, hey, man, nice try. Shoot your shot. That was great. You know?
Yeah.
And she does a really nice job of letting him down. So like it wasn't a terrible experience to watch. Like I always am so terrified when someone proposes at like a sporting event or like concert or something that I'm
That's why you shouldn't do it
Oh,
there.
don't do that, man. And honestly,
do that to
if you
people.
ask your girlfriend to marry you at a sporting event and she says yes there in front of 20,000 people, and then in the car she's like, we're not getting married, you should not have asked me that way, that's your fault.
Yeah. This is the exact reason why I don't like the call to have Bram meet him at the Ferris wheel. To me, that feels like a very similar experience where you're putting somebody on the spot like that.
Yeah. Or they should have used like an inside, like, meet me at that place we talked about
Right.
at midnight or whatever. There's
Right.
like easy writing ways around that make it less, I don't know. They really went hard on the rom-com tropes with this.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I think is hard to do with sensitive subject matter, so it always comes across clunky, and I kind of love that too because it's so messy.
I mean, it is fun to watch. But to tie back to something I think Paige said at the beginning of the episode, it would have been better if he didn't show up. I thought he wasn't going to show up when like he's out of tickets or whatever and he hasn't shown up yet. I thought that he was going to go home and Blue was going to be standing on his porch. And I thought that would have been better.
Yeah.
I thought he had blew it.
Not till later, Mikey. That's eighth base.
I think that this is trying to apply rom-com tropes to a movie that, I mean, the more gay rom-coms we make, I think we need to get new tropes. I think we need to invent new things. Just more things that work better. Like, not everyone has to have the straight tropes. Is all I'm saying.
Well, one, I don't think the straight tropes work, but two,
that's true. That is also true. The straight tropes also do not work. Most of those movies make us ask, are the straights okay? And the answer is no.
I just think it's funny that they tried to end it like that after the movie was not a rom-com, or it didn't feel like a rom-com.
I feel like it could be. I do like this idea of them kind of falling in love via messages, because I do think it works a little bit better than some of the other ones we've seen like that.
Yeah, it's You've Got Mail in high school, and of course gay.
Exactly.
But yeah.
This movie would have worked as You've Got Mail, M-A-L-E.
Yes!
Yeah. Would it surprise you to learn that was the original title for this movie?
That would not surprise me at all. Was that, or are you making that up?
I'm making that up.
Anyway, so as everyone kind of settles after that happens, Nick turns to Simon and is like, I thought you said like that she liked him. Clearly that's not the case. Everyone kind of disperses and he's like, well, people will get over it in a couple weeks. But unfortunately, over Christmas break, it is online forever.
Yeah.
Like, it's everywhere. It's memed to death. He tries calling Martin. Martin's voicemail is a Trump impression. I hate it so much. It's real rough.
Is it because it's like a decent one and I haven't had to hear that idiot's voice in like 2 years and it's been the best 2 years?
It is a decent one.
Yeah.
That's one of those impressions that I feel like a lot of people can do halfway decent, but nobody needs to do it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Like Mario?
No.
I honestly feel like the world would be a better place if everyone talked like Mario.
Yeah. It's a me.
It's
It's a me.
in Italy. In the Italian food.
Yes. To me, it felt like the person who tells the joke that everyone has heard a million times before and tells it less well. And which I think is very much who Martin is. I think it's in line with his character. It just made me hate him worse.
I think the movie must be good because I have not elicited this sort of hate in a villain from me in a very long time.
I mean,
a lot of these modern movies like nuance and want to make your villain empathetic with complicated backstories. Not Martin. He's a child sociopath.
I also feel like if you do impressions, use your most unique one. Like, use the one that people are like, man, I've never heard somebody do an impression. Like,
I once did an impression of a Brazilian bird.
And people still talk about it. That was episode 77 of The Horror Virgin. And people still talk about it 2 years later, Mikey.
I don't remember this at all.
That's because you weren't on episode 77 of The Horror Virgin, Paige.
That's true.
Which we're all sorry for. But man, was that bird impression amazing.
It was Halloween 2, apparently. I saw that post today and I was like, oh, I did do that. It was terrible.
So this is where he kind of reads back through some of Blue's emails. Blue's going to be essentially off the grid, like internet-wise.
Yeah.
And some of the things in that message suggest that it's the accompanist at school based on what he said in previous scenes. And he sends him a list of Christmas songs that include David Bowie's Drummer Boy, which is amazing, and Someday at Christmas by the Jackson 5, both classics. And there was a couple others in there that I also loved, but like it was a solid list. Also, David Bowie's Drummer Boy is also usually done as a duet with Bing Crosby. And it's like chef's choice. One time my dad and my uncle sang it for Christmas and I have it on video somewhere.
Nice.
Anyway, we cut to Christmas and he's basically fantasizing about kissing him under the mistletoe when his cell phone rings and it's Leah, and she's basically letting him know that Martin outed him on Creek Secrets or whatever it is.
Today on Creek Secrets.
We're
outing Simon.
And he posted all the screenshots.
Yes.
I think the most infuriating part was him the scene showing him literally making the post.
Yeah.
For some reason, that infuriated me.
Yeah.
Like, he's dragging the picture in. Fuck that guy.
I cried during the scene when his sister comes in and is like, I already saw it. I reported it. They're going to take it down. And he's like, it doesn't matter. People saw it and it's true. You know, what are you going to do? And she's like, well, you could deny it. And he's like, why should I deny it? I'm not ashamed. It's who I am.
Yeah.
I just kind of have to deal with it now. And I think his sister is crying out of empathy, out of like, I'm sad for what could happen to you because of this, if that makes sense. But she still keeps the secret. She's a good sister.
She's a very loving, supportive sister who also bakes and cooks amazing food. Like, that's a win.
And he buys her a Cuisinart hand blender for Christmas, which is
very thoughtful gift.
Yes. He emails Blue to basically be like, I've been outed. Please don't freak out. But just so you know. We cut to the next morning at Christmas. He opens his Bluetooth headphones. She opens her hand mixer. And he comes out to his parents. They kind of take a beat, and his mom is very empathetic, but cautious. And his dad starts by saying, which one of the old girlfriends? And his mom's like, that's not funny. And he just kind of walks out of the room. We don't really know how his dad feels immediately, but it doesn't seem like it's great.
Yeah, he's having trouble processing that.
Yeah, I definitely think that I mean, I'm sure that people have had worse come out stories to their dad, but like
This one's not
is
great.
not awesome. Right. Yeah.
The thing I was missing about that part was Jennifer Gardner's mom getting pissed at him.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we see that, but I think she does.
I think it definitely happens.
I think it happens, yeah. So we kind of cut through the rest of Christmas break. He's kind of avoiding friends, and the change is kind of exhausting. And he basically is emailing Blue and is like, I have nowhere to hide except with you. So we cut to the day that he has to go back to school. And he kind of eats his breakfast burrito, or I guess he doesn't eat it because he's going to be late. He goes to pick his friends up, and they're all standing there, and he basically walks over to talk to them, and they're like, hey, so Abby and Nick are together, and in talking to each other, we've revealed that you have lied both to us and to other people about us, and that's not cool. And then Leah is like, so you also lied to me and about me, so that I went on a date and stuff, and that wasn't cool. Now, granted, I would say once they find out that he was blackmailed, like
the timing of this is a little off for me.
Yeah.
I feel like you can absolutely have a conversation of like, hey, something was terrible that happened to you. I understand why you did it.
Right.
Please never do that to me again.
Yeah.
Like,
It should have been them all at Waffle House being like, are you okay? Also,
Yes.
Yeah.
is this why you did these shitty things to me? We're all mad at you.
right.
And then when he says Martin blackmailed me, they'd be like, and then they had like a,
Yeah, just like, hey, next time, tell us he's blackmailing you. Like, I hope there's never a next time, but like, hey, I mean, their reaction's not great for sure. But I also, the things he did weren't great. There was a different way to handle it, for sure. So they don't go to school with him. They all go with Nick. And he goes to school on his own, runs into the principal who has a rainbow flag pin. And he basically immediately starts off with, when I said we had a lot in common, that wasn't what I was talking about, just for the record. Which it was just like unnecessary. Didn't need to say that.
I thought this conversation, he was going to be like, I'm gay.
I thought so too, because of all the weird Tinder shit he'd been saying. There was a moment where I was like, please God, don't let Blue be the principal.
Fuck,
That would have been a much darker end to this movie.
Yeah,
Just like,
that would have been super
was
dark.
a bad villain.
Yeah.
I mean, but what we're essentially saying is if this movie had been gay, never been kissed.
I mean, to be honest, yeah.
Yeah.
But this movie kind of tries to be gay, never been kissed.
If only we had gotten more of Blue's
Right.
clues throughout the film.
Fucking Steve just like reading an envelope. Like,
So we cut to lunch. He goes to the cafeteria, and one of his ex-girlfriends comes up to him and just says, did you date me because you thought I looked like a guy? And he says, no, I broke up with you because you didn't. And she goes, oh, okay, great.
and then when she sits down, all of her friends are like, what'd he say? Like, you
What'd
can
he
hear them
say?
whispering. It's very funny.
Then we cut to the two jocks who have been terrible to everybody this entire movie, run into the room dressed as Simon and Ethan, and they're basically acting out kind of a scene of the two of them on a lunch table dancing to music. And it's clearly meant to be offensive. It's meant to mock them. It's super fucked up. And Simon walks over to the table and just says, do you got something to say to me? Basically like, I'll come at you. Like, fuck you. And before anything else can happen, the theater teacher shuts it down.
Yeah.
Where she's like, you get down, you hormonal virgins, is what she says. She's going to be...
Loved it.
You're going to be suspended for so long until you become the mediocre nobodies you're destined to become. I was just like, damn.
And I love that they're like, you can't talk to us like that. And she's like, oh, I can. You know how I know? I just did. Now get your ass to the principal's office.
Well, she also says, she's like, I can't talk to you like that. You, the people who did and said something horrible in front of all of these people, everyone thinks you're assholes and nobody feels sorry for those assholes. Now walk. I'm going to sell this and get my tubes tied. And she's got like
Well,
their
it
radio.
was their Bluetooth speaker.
Yeah, their Bluetooth speaker.
I forgot about that. That shit was very funny.
So one time my English teacher told me I didn't have a soul.
I mean, was that truth hard for you to hear?
What prompted this?
I was making some jokes in class.
I find that extremely easy to believe.
Yeah, I do. I do
well,
find this
you may
easy
have
to
we
believe.
may have talked about this before. We were going over a little book that I loathe, Jane Eyre.
I think we've cut this out most of the times.
Okay, well, I have a hatred for Jane Eyre, the book, because it's stupid and dumb, and it doesn't have any good morals for anyone. And come to find out, I believe that English teacher wrote her thesis on that book. And so
That's hilarious.
Oops.
that's my headcanon of why she was so mad about the Jane Eyre discussion. I was like, he's not romantic. He has his wife chained in the attic. Is this not fucked up for anybody else in this room?
I mean, for how long, though? 365 days?
Forever, while he tries to have sex with Jane Eyre.
Oh, that's no fun. If you're going to chain somebody to the attic, that's the person you're having sex with. Consensually.
Anyway, it hurt my feelings.
If I learned anything from watching the Time Traveler's Wife series on HBO...
No. We shall not speak its name.
Paige, when he's 41, he travels back to her 18th birthday and they fuck.
I hate it so much. I hate it so much.
You don't have to do that. Just download Bumble.
I can't believe that people like are watching that show and they're like, it's so romantic. Oh,
no.
You mean when he grooms a 6-year-old to then want to fuck him when he's 41 and she's 18?
No.
The only thing that would make this better is that when she meets him in present day before he goes back future to have sex with her at 18, where she's like, you had sex with me at 18, and he's just like, what kind of monster have I become in the future?
The whole premise of that story, I don't understand why anyone thinks it's romantic. I'm like, this is the creepiest, squickiest, like, ugh.
It's modern day Jane Eyre.
Paige, so many women find that book very romantic.
I do not understand.
If he sent you emails at 8, 10, 12, 14, and 18...
Nope. That's still
it would
grooming.
be still a felony.
Yeah. Like, he should be tackled by a guy in a ghillie suit most of that movie. Like,
the only thing good about that movie, and I'm assuming they're going to get to it in the series as well, is that her dad finally shoots him in the woods by their house.
Right.
I think The Time Traveler's Wife should have ended with Time Cop,
yes,
sex crime.
Time Cop SVU.
Time Cop SVU is exactly how that should have ended. It's just Sean Klon Van Stabler.
Just Chris Maloney as Time Cop.
Yes, absolutely.
Chris Maloney and Mariska Hargitay Time Cop back and are just like, you sick bastard. Dun, 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 Time Cop.
But halfway through the episode, they're interviewing a guy in the Civil War unloading crates.
I don't know. Maybe I've seen him. You got a picture? It's just an old-timey photograph.
He mowed down a bunch of my friends with these really fast shooting guns.
I've been up at Gettysburg, seeing a lot of people die over there. What's so special about this one?
He goes back in time and has sex with a child. I have seen him.
With 18, that's not a child. She should have 4 children by now.
You also may want to check out this lady named Adeline who had sex with a man and then had sex with his son later on.
Oh, that's right. Age of Adeline. I forgot about that.
Yeah, there are so many problematic time fucking movies. It's
I'm
insane.
picking another one. In 3 weeks, we're going. You guys have convinced me. I'm picking another romantic comedy with time travel as a focus.
It's more than 3 weeks because we have our 100th episode that we're doing something special for next, and then
And then it's my pick. And if you're going to do a time travel movie, I already have one queued up for time travel.
Let's do it. Let's all do Crazy Time Travel Month. Let's do it. I'm here for it.
I feel like my time travel one is actually a good time travel one.
I know you're lying.
I don't think that. I think that is a misnomer. I feel like there aren't good time travel rom-coms.
I've never seen a good time travel rom-com.
I will stand by my assertion that the best time travel romance is, in fact, James Cameron's Terminator.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, Paige just wants to have sex with someone who gets sent back in time, has to steal a homeless man's sweatpants that definitely have shit in them, and then have sex with that sweaty man that night.
He came across time for her.
It's the height of romance.
It's the height of romance, and Time Cop, close second. So we cut to the principal's office where they've pulled the 2 jocks in, and then they've also pulled Simon and Ethan in. And basically they just make the jocks apologize to them. And that's the extent of what's happened.
I was so livid that was their repercussion. Like, they should have been expelled or suspended or whatever.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Yeah.
Anyway, but this is also where we find out that Ethan's mom still lies to his grandparents, even though he's been out this whole time.
Yeah.
And it's very, very sad. It's like, it's a bummer.
Oh, I'm sure there are a lot of people who maybe have to, quote unquote, lie to their grandparents because their mom or dad thinks it'll be just too much for them to handle, and we just don't want to have to worry about them, and it's just real sad.
Yeah. Well, and we do also in this scene where they're apologizing, he's like, at this school we practice tolerance, which means we respect their choice to be boyfriends. And they're like, we're not, it has nothing to do with each other. And they're just like, anyway, get out. Like, they don't do anything. He tries to email Blue and it comes back undeliverable.
Yeah.
He goes to school the next day. He sees the accompanist and he asks him, is it you? Are you Blue? And thankfully, the accompanist, I think, actually takes this very well and is like, it's not me. I'm sorry, but I know you've had a crazy few days. Do you want to talk about it? Which I think is a very kind way to respond.
I think... Okay.
You think he's also gay and closeted?
I think he might be. I mean, I think,
thought so too.
Yeah, and maybe he just wants a more private place to talk about that with someone, because they're like in the high school hallway. Like,
right.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to talk about that if you're not out there. You'd want to talk about it somewhere that's more private.
Yeah, I suspected the same as well.
And then also he could have been like, I see what you're going through, and I don't want a piece of that with the 10-foot pole.
Yeah, I feel you. Yes. So he comes home to his mom and he asks her, like, did you know? And she has, I actually really like this conversation between them where she says, I knew you had a secret because the last few years, it felt like you were holding your breath and I wanted to ask you about it, but I didn't want to pry. Maybe I made a mistake and maybe I should have asked sooner. And then she just says, like, you are still the same person. We still love you. If anything, you get to be more of you than you have been in a very long time.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. So we cut to him running up on Leah walking her dog because they all live in the same neighborhood.
Yeah. I like how he's just like, I'm just out for a run. And she's like, you don't go running.
Oh, I thought this was how Todd runs.
In jeans? No, we've talked
Yep.
about how you cannot run in jeans. That's a mistake.
Yeah. Well, and I do like their conversation here where she's just like, he says, like, I know what I did was messed up. And she's like, why'd you come out to Abby before me? And he's like, I'd known you longer. I knew things would change. And she's like, that's okay. What else is going on? And he's like, I love this guy. Here's what's happened. And so it's kind of like they immediately kind of fall back into being friends, even if their relationship has slightly changed. As he comes home, he runs into his dad, who's basically like, hey, I'm sorry. I should have known, although there's nothing, you might not know. Nobody could ever know until people tell them. Who knows?
Yeah.
But this is where he says, like, I'm sorry about the jokes. I shouldn't have been telling them regardless. Like,
yeah,
that's just a me thing I need to change, basically. And he says that he loves him. He's proud of him. He wouldn't change anything. I sobbed through this whole section.
I cried during this, and from the mom talking to him through this, I was like in tears the whole time. It was, yeah.
And then he asks, like, how's that video for mom coming? And he's like, it's good. And he goes, you don't know how to export it, do you? And he's like, can you please help me with that? And that made me laugh very hard. It was very funny. He says, we could sign up for Grindr together. He's like, you don't know what Grindr is.
I do love it. His dad's like, it's like Facebook for gay people. And he's like, no. That's not what that is.
So Simon comes home and he makes his own post of like, yeah, I was outed, but here's what's up. I love this guy. I miss you. If you want to, here's where you can meet me at the Ferris wheel, whatever.
After the play at 10 o'clock, you know where I'll be.
Right. So they finish the play. Everyone makes their way to the Winter Carnival. And they go to... We do get to see some of the play, which is very funny. And the theater teacher... Like, as the play ends and one of the lit teas falls, she's just like, damn it.
Yeah.
It's like, I love her.
She is amazing.
But so his friends and everyone else kind of circle around the Ferris wheel. He gets a bunch of tickets and he just continually rides the Ferris wheel, which I think would just make me nauseous. Like that many in a row.
I don't know. It's sort of slow. It usually stops every now and then to let people on and off. I don't know. I would just get straight up bored.
Yeah, but they've all had hand jobs in them.
Yeah. I don't know if you know, but Ferris wheels are like 90% jizz.
I can't do this. I can't. Don't ruin Ferris wheels for me.
Oh my God. They're probably more hand jobs than pools.
Yeah. Or roller coasters. Have you ever seen the roller coaster movie with Reese Witherspoon where she gets fingered on a roller coaster?
Isn't that called Fear?
Right?
I think it's Fear. Yeah.
Cape Fear? Is it Cape Fear?
No,
I think it's just Fear.
I haven't seen that movie, but I've heard of that scene clearly.
Yeah. Anyway, everyone's kind of making a spectacle of it. Like some girls are trying to film it, and she's like, I bet he's waiting for the other gay kid, which is just kind of like people just want to see the spectacle.
Which is why I thought he would never going to show up.
Yeah, that's why I thought he wasn't going to show up, because he goes around a bunch of times, he doesn't show. Then Martin shows up and it's like, it's me. And I'm like, what?
It's a me, a blue. I'm here.
It's a me. I ruined the movie. So he is like, no, I'm not, but this is so brutal. Like, can we just call it? Like, and he pays for one last round.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to make up for blackmailing you and destroying or possibly destroying your friends' relationships. Here's $4. Please forgive me.
In reality, what Martin did has caused deep depression, suicide, a whole litany of terrible tragedies in this world.
Right.
And I did not like this redemption moment. I don't think it works. I think Martin is
it's because it's not a really redemptive moment. It's just him ponying up $4 for someone he blackmailed.
Yeah, and so they basically give a last call for his last round around the wheelchair. But Bram approaches and asks if he can sit next to him. So we know that it is Bram, who, by the way, has been absent from this film for an hour. Anyway, as they go across up the Ferris wheel, he explains what happened at the party, that he's like, I was drunk and confused and it ended like a minute later.
Yeah.
But, you know, I didn't think it had it in me. Like, are you disappointed that it's me? And he's like, no. And they kiss and everyone cheers at the bottom of the Ferris wheel. They kiss again. We cut like 6 months later to like the last week of school.
Yeah.
Where now they're all getting iced coffees together. They pick up Bram on the way.
I like how they redo the overhead shot of the iced coffees, because in the first shot, it's 3 black coffees and 1 has milk in it.
Right.
And then in the last shot, you see it's 3 black coffees and 2 with milk in it.
2 have milk in it.
Yeah, so there's an extra, there's a 5th.
Yeah.
I love that.
And he says it's a beautiful day to go on an adventure. They drive off, and that's the movie.
So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, how do you guys feel about Love, Simon?
I liked it, and I feel like I got to voice all of my opinions at the beginning and throughout the film. Like, I don't have anything else to add, but I still feel the same after talking about it. I really enjoyed it. I think there's problematic elements where the tropes didn't work for me.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. And there's also a part of me that's like, maybe I'm expecting teenagers to handle things the way adults would, and that's
that's probably true.
That's part of the problem. I liked it, I guess. Yeah, there were some funny moments of it. This sounds terrible. There's always room for improvement. And I feel like we laid out pretty clearly some of the parts that maybe didn't work as well.
Yeah, but I like this movie a lot. I'll definitely watch this again. I feel like it's a really, really good, like, coming of age is probably more accurate than rom-com, but I really like it. And the main guy who plays Simon, I've seen him in like a few other things that he was spectacular in. Like, there's this...
Yeah, he's really good at it.
I think it's on Hulu, but it's called A Teacher, and it's him and Kate Mara, and they have like this very inappropriate relationship. Like, she's his English teacher or some shit.
Oh, I remember
And they have an
this,
affair, and it like destroys both of their lives. Like, it is not a feel-good series. It's like one of those, like, everyone is doing something bad and like you feel bad for everyone involved because it does destroy their life. But like, man, he's such a great actor. And when I saw him in this, I was like, oh, I bet he crushes this role because he is great. And he did. I think he's great in this movie.
Yeah, he did a good job.
But Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
I do.
Well, hit us with your fun facts.
Simon,
fun
fun
facts.
facts.
Nailed it.
The speech with him and Jennifer Garner, where she's like, I felt like you were holding your breath, was not originally in the script.
Really?
Yes, but when Jennifer Garner read the script, she asked them to write in a scene where she and Simon have more time to talk about it, and that's the scene that comes from it.
Okay.
And honestly, I love that. For me, that's one of the best scenes of the movie.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't have that originally, because that scene and the scene with the dad are where you get the emotional weight of him coming out to his family. Like, when he comes out at Christmas, you don't really get that because the dad leaves the room and the mom does sort of acknowledge it. at least.
Right.
But like there really isn't that like level of acceptance you get in that speech later on. So that's interesting they didn't have that initially.
Yeah, and this is based on a book too. So I
Okay.
would assume something like that had to be in the book. I'm not sure. But
Yeah.
Greg Berlanti, who directed this, actually did something a little unique with this movie where he would call cut and then continue to film the core group of friends.
Oh, cool.
And a bunch of that footage made it into the movie. Not them improving, but just them interacting as like teens. If
Okay,
that makes
cool.
sense.
Yeah.
And that included one of the dancing in the car scenes and a couple of the other things that make the final cut.
Oh, nice.
So the book that this is based on is called Simon versus the Homo sapiens Agenda. And the movie originally had the same name, but it was too long to say, hence the name change.
Yeah.
Production code, aka the fake title for filming. So we've probably talked about this before, maybe on Horror Virgin. When movies film, especially if they're going to film on location and not at a studio, they often have a code name for what they're filming. That's so people don't like wander onto the set. Because like if you told people you were like, we're filming Game of Thrones today, people are going to try and see Game of Thrones.
Right.
So movies almost always have a fake production name. In this case, it was Blue was the name.
That works.
Yeah. The words hour to hour, note to note that are written on his chalkboard wall is actually a nod to the email Simon uses in the book to talk to Blue. It was called hour to hour note to note at gmail.com. In the movie, it's from my window one at Gmail.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Now, Becky Albertalli, who wrote the book, actually has other books. So her second novel, The Upside of Unrequited, is on his bookshelf. It takes place in the same universe with the same characters, but it revolves around Abby's cousins.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
This is only the second time that 20th Century Fox, as a studio, like a major studio, and not one of their offshoot studios like Searchlight, etc.,
Right.
made a film that showcases a sympathetic portrayal of a leading homosexual character. The first was Making Love in 1982.
Okay.
On the DVD commentary, the director and some of the producers talk about how difficult it was to settle on what musical they were doing at the high school. In the novel, the musical was Oliver, which, by the way, super common. So many high schools do Oliver.
I saw my sister do a production of Oliver when she was in high school and I was like 8.
Yeah, and I would
Yeah.
like to remind you, a lot of school productions will cut it out. A woman is beaten to death at the end of that play.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, they couldn't get the rights to Oliver. So they were originally going to do a musical adaptation of Say Anything as the play. Much like they do in Hot Fuzz, where it's Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet. They were going to do that, but for Say Anything.
Oh, nice.
And they had actually written part of the musical before they found out that they got the rights to Cabaret, which they were allowed to do as long as they didn't show the main character, the Sally Bowles character, in a top hat, which would suggest that they were performing the movie version of Cabaret, not the Broadway version of Cabaret. Basically, they're performing the original 1960s stage musical, and they had to be very specific about costumes because of that. Anyway, both Cabaret and this movie obviously contain closeted male characters, which is part of one of the reasons why they chose it, even though I still think it's hilarious that a high school would do Cabaret.
Yeah.
Do you have a guess as to who was invited to audition for Simon, but ultimately did not do so? And I do want to say, I think casting for Simon was great. I think he does a great job in this movie. I was very surprised that this other person was considered, although not that surprised because there are constantly swirling rumors about this person's sexuality.
I would say Ben Platt.
Too old.
I mean, he just played a high schooler last year in Dear Evan Hansen and looked 35 doing it, but
Yes.
still love that musical. It's so good. But whoever did the makeup in that movie should have gone to school.
I'm sure they did. They were just trying to make a 30-something person look like a high schooler, and not everyone has my skin. Any guesses? Neither of you?
I don't have any idea.
Singer-songwriter Shawn Mendes. Do neither of you know Shawn Mendes? Okay.
I know who
I know
Shawn
Shawn
Mendes is. I
Mendes.
just didn't know he acted.
He doesn't really. This
Well,
would
that's
have
probably
been
why he wasn't in this movie.
no, he didn't audition. He apparently his touring schedule prevented him, but this would have probably been his first movie, I would guess. So there are some clues to different things in the movie based on the posters that are on his walls. Most notably, there's a poster on his wall of the 2007 Of Montreal album, Hissing Fauna, Are You the Destroyer?, which was heavily into my pop punk, alt punk era. And I had this album at one point, but it's a concept album about a transgender rock star. And the band in general is known for having flamboyant stage persona, and they are advocates for LGBTQ plus rights. Given that Simon would have been a child when that album came out, probably not, like, you know, but whatever. It's the same with me having a different Panic at the Disco era than he does. Unlike most adaptations that we've covered on this movie where there's a book that the movie's based on, the author does not have a cameo in the movie. It's like the first time we've ever had that. His coming out dream sequence, the one in college, is set to I Want to Dance with Somebody, Whitney Houston's classic.
Yeah, I loved that sequence. It's so great.
So good. His mom, Jennifer Garner, has a similar getting ready for a night out sequence to this same song in 13 Going on 30, which we've also done on the show.
Love it.
And those are your fun facts.
Awesome. Okay, so let's talk box office. So what do you think the production budget was for Love, Simon in 2018?
20 million?
Yeah, I was going to say about 25 because this is a full studio piece. This ain't no Netflix joint. Like, this is real shit.
I bet a lot of Netflix movies have had a bigger budget than this. This production budget was $10 million.
Oh, wow.
This looks great for $10 million.
I honestly was super surprised by that because $10 million is a shitload of money. But like for this level of a movie, it's not that much money.
This movie must have made so much money.
Well, we'll talk about it. So this movie came out the week of March 16th, 2018, and it was number 5 in the theater that opening weekend. It was beat by Black Panther, that had been out for 5 weeks, but was still number 1. Number 2 was Tomb Raider. Number 3 was I Can Only Imagine. Number 4 was A Wrinkle in Time, and then, of course, Love, Simon. So what do you think Love, Simon made in its opening weekend?
Opening weekend against Black Panther, I bet it made 15.
Okay.
13.
It made $11.7 million. But in your opening weekend, if you make back more than your budget, that's a good return on investment right there. And it was in the theaters for another 13 weeks. But obviously it didn't do as well as its first week out, but what do you think it made total domestic at the box office?
55.
Yeah, I'm going to go higher. I'm going to go 70.
It made $40.8 million domestically, and then $24.6 million internationally for a total of $65.5 million.
Okay.
So it made quite a bit of money. I wouldn't say it's like a smash hit or anything, but it made money for sure.
Right.
And it also went on to make another $6.5 million in the domestic DVD and Blu-ray sales market.
Gotcha. Well, then I think Hulu made a sequel.
Yeah, Love Victor, I think is what it's called.
And he does reprise his character. Nick Robinson does. He comes back as Simon, but he is not the main character of that show. I think in the Facebook group was talking about it today because I didn't even know that existed until earlier today.
Right.
But that is your box office.
Well, how romantic do you think this movie was? On a scale of 1 to 10.
I'm going to give it like a 3. This is more coming of age for me than romantic.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But again, I love this movie. It's just not super romantic.
I didn't think it was romantic either. I'm going to give it a 2.
Okay.
I mean, here's what I'll put it this way, because do you think they're still together?
No.
Absolutely not. No.
I don't either. I think this is cool through the end of high school, but then I think they're going to go off into college and figure themselves out. But I do like it as a coming of age story, definitely.
Yeah.
So this week, Mikey, you made us watch Love, Simon, but next week is our 100th episode, and we decided to do something a little special for our 100th episode. So you guys want to talk about what that is?
Yes. So it's episode 100. So we're going to do Romancing the Stone.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Where our
It's
name
bonkers.
comes from.
I love it. Let me make sure it's streaming.
Romancing the Stone came out in 1984 and is available on HBO.
Yay.
So your homework for next week is to get wine drunk and watch Romancing the Stone. So, Mikey, do you have a review for us to read?
I do.
Nice. Well, whose review are you going to read this week?
Time tested.
All right. Well, what does Time Tested have to say?
Great pandemic find.
Oh.
Found this podcast at some point during the pandemic and fell in love. Pun intended.
Okay.
I have gone back and listened to every episode. Paige, Todd, and Mikey are hilarious, and it is a happy moment when I see a new episode. I also follow the Horror Virgin and love it just as much.
Nice.
You guys just did a movie from my childhood, Can't Buy Me Love.
Ooh.
I wish you would do another favorite, the classic starring Amy Dolenz and Tony Danza. She's out of control. Smiling emoji.
I've never
5
even
stars.
heard of that movie.
Me neither, yeah.
Yeah, 1989. Oh, wow. Okay. Here's the premise of that movie. When an average-looking teenage girl gets a makeover, it's enough to make her father become overly protective of her.
Yep.
Oh, my God. And it's Tony Danza? Oh, dude. And Wallace Shawn is in this. Okay. This is definitely going to happen at some point. Well, thank you so much for that awesome 5-star review. And if you want to Mikey read your review, leave us a 5-star review. So, yeah, guys, if you like this power throuple that we have here on this podcast, make sure to check out our other podcast, The Horror Virgin. And that is the only other podcast that Mikey and I are on. But Paige gets around, and she is on 2 other podcasts, Black Card Rehab and Cult Podcast. So guys, definitely check out those because they're amazing. If you want to follow us on social, we are at Romancing the Pod Show.
Yes.
On Instagram, and we are at something else on Twitter who I just have never taken the time to learn
It's just Romancing Pod Show because they have a character limit and it's show SHO like Showtime.
So guys, check that out as well. And if you want to follow us all individually, Paige is at Rampage Wesley everywhere, including TikTok, except for Twitter, where she is at Paige Wesley. Mikey is at MRandolph24, and I am at Todd J. Awesome everywhere. And guys, we got a P.O. box. So if you want to send us some love letters or whatever you might send to a P.O. box, it's actually not a P.O. box. It's like a regular street address. It's pretty awesome. It's 6688 Nolensville Road, number 108-34, Brentwood, Tennessee 37027. So send us some stuff.
Yeah.
That's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
I'm Mikey.
And I'm Todd.
And you complete us.
To completion.
Do you guys want to go up and down on my Ferris wheel?
Not after what I heard about how many people drop loads on them.
Yeah. So many loads.
Bye! Aftermath nerds.
La 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 la.